Chapter 825. At this time, Tian Ziming had already become the new city lord of Dongsha City due to his strength and prestige. He led all the citizens of the city to the top of the city gates, preparing to use the city lord seal to control the city defense array to find the mysterious person from yesterday. Tian Ziming clearly knew how to use the city lord seal. The city lord seal shone with a powerful light in his hand and instantly merged with the city defense array. The entire city defense array's runes also began to flow like mysterious water ripples. Everyone felt the runes in their bodies being activated and connected with the city defense array. The city defense array's array foundation was not only made up of cultivators above the nascent soul stage, but also all the citizens of the city. Even mortals with no cultivation became a part of the array foundation. Yesterday, He Jinglong had only gathered cultivators above the nascent soul stage because they were the main focus. There were too many people left, and it would be difficult to deploy them, so he did not directly let them participate. However, later on, those who had not reached the nascent soul stage also became the array foundation. The city lord's seal shone brightly, and suddenly, a hazy golden fog appeared in the air, making it difficult to see through. In this hazy fog, there were countless specks of starlight. The brightness of these specks of starlight was not uniform, and each speck represented a person in Dongsha City. The brighter the speck of starlight, the stronger the person was. Found it. Tian Ziming quickly saw the brightest star among the dazzling specks of starlight. It was emitting a blazing and dazzling light, and within the light, there was an unparalleled killing intent. Everyone was pleasantly surprised, and they all wanted to see who this person was. Let me reveal your true identity. A rune appeared in Tian Ziming's hand, and he quickly grabbed at the brightest star. All the cultivators below the city gate were also waiting for Tian Ziming. As long as Tian Ziming used the city defense array to trap this transcending tribulation stage cultivator and handed him over to the Yu Meng demon clan, the crisis of Eastern Sand City would be resolved. However, just as Tian Ziming's runes wrapped around the star suddenly erupted with an incomparably terrifying killing intent, instantly crashing into Tian Ziming's body. Tian Ziming's complexion changed. This sort of terrifying killing intent was something he couldn't resist. Bastard! A blue light suddenly appeared in front of Tian Ziming's chest, blocking the attack. Bang! Tian Ziming heavily retreated and stabilized his footing in the air. At this time, the dazzling star had already disappeared. What's going on? Where's that person? Wasn't he unable to resist the city lord's seal? The people waiting at the city gate were all bewildered. Tian Ziming coldly glanced at everyone present, then found the old city lord's figure in the crowd and shouted, "He Jinglong, the city lord's seal didn't display enough power. It was you who secretly tampered with it." What? He Jinglong actually dares to do this? As the previous city lord, he dared to go against us and disregard the lives of the people in the city. Arrest him. When all the cultivators heard Tian Ziming's words, they immediately became angry and pointed their spears at the old city lord, He Jinglong. The old city lord had just rushed to the city gate tower to check on the situation. He didn't know what had happened, but he found that everyone was looking at him angrily. Tian Ziming, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I tamper with the city lord's seal? The old city lord shouted angrily. He didn't know about this at all, and Tian Ziming inexplicably added a crime to his name. Tian Ziming snorted and shouted, "He Jinglong, don't play dumb with me. The power of the city lord's seal is known to all of us from the 8 gates. If we gather the strength of the entire city, we are confident that we can trap a person in the tribulation stage. However, that person almost killed me just now. If I didn't have a secret technique to protect my body, I'm afraid I would have died in that person's hands. What are your intentions?" "What intentions do I have? Ha! I really feel sorry for all of you." The old city lord laughed loudly, but his eyes were filled with grief and indignation. This Tian Ziming was really stupid. Tian Ziming shouted coldly, "As the previous city lord, you tampered with the city lord's seal and protected that person. You deserve to die." Fellow Taoist Zhuang Hong fellow Taoist Lung Xiufeng. The two of you kill him as a warning." Zhuang Hong said hesitantly, "City Lord, that's not very good, right? After all, he is the old City Lord. If we kill him now," Tian Ziming said sternly, "as the current City Lord, I have to be responsible for the lives of all the people in the city. The reason why the City Lord Seal didn't unleash its full power is because the owner of the City Lord Seal is still him. If he deliberately goes against us, then the people in the city will die." Tian Ziming glanced at everyone and said, "If he is not willing to hand over the City Lord Seal to us, then we must kill him. Otherwise, the City Lord Seal won't change owners, and we will be killed by Yumon." Everyone on the city gate tower was furious. They stared at the old City Lord with hatred and began to curse. "You old thief! Are you trying to trap us in an unrighteous place? Kill this shameless old thief. Kill him, and we can capture that person. Yes, kill this old thief." In order to survive, everyone roared angrily and surrounded the old City Lord. Some people even spat at him, and some people even threw things at him. The old City Lord stood alone in the crowd. Everyone avoided him, and he felt an unprecedented sorrow in his heart. Zhuang Hong and Lung Xiufeng looked at each other. Then they stood up and said, "Taoist, I advise you not to go against the entire city. Hand over the complete method of using the City Lord Seal, and we can spare your life." "Spare my life?" The old City Lord looked up at the sky and laughed bitterly. He shook his head sadly. What is wrong with this world? He remembered that he had just made a decision for that young man. Now that he thought about it, it seemed a little laughable. "Forget it. What's so hard about wanting me dead? You don't have to do it. I will end it myself." A flying sword appeared in the old City Lord's hand. The sword flashed with a cold light. He gently stroked the sword, and his face was filled with endless sorrow. "You were supposed to be used to kill Yumon. I always wanted to use Yumon's blood to nourish you. But I didn't expect. The blood that stained you in the end came from my body." The old City Lord raised his head and looked around at the curses directed at him. His heart had long since sunk to the bottom of the valley. When would this group of people understand that the Yu Ming Devil Clan would not show mercy to them? When would they understand that the blood of the human race could not be forgotten? Perhaps it would never happen again. He looked up at the sky, at the Yumon outside the defensive formation. Those Yumon looked like they were watching a joke, watching the ugly actions of the Dongsha City cultivators. The people of Dongsha City did not want to fight with the Yumon outside. Instead, they wanted to force their own people to die. "Hurry up and die. Don't waste our time. We still have to find the person Yumon wants." "That's right." The cultivators all urged passionately from the side. "Can't wait for me to die. I, He Jinglong, have lived a magnanimous life. I had the determination to kill Yumon, but in the end, I can only kill myself." "Ha ha ha." The old City Lord slowly closed his eyes. He raised the sword in his hand and slashed it across his own neck. Sigh. A sigh came from the crowd. A ray of light flashed past the old City Lord's side. In the blink of an eye, the old City Lord had already disappeared from everyone's sight. What happened? Where's that old thief? He's gone? Who saved him? It must be that mysterious person. The two of them really know each other. That old thief is protecting that person. Catch him. Seeing the old City Lord He Jinglong suddenly disappear, all the cultivators roared with indignation. They looked around, trying to find the old City Lord, but there was nothing. Tian Ziming's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He did not expect that He Jinglong would be saved right under his nose. This was simply a provocation to him, the new City Lord. "Find He Jinglong for me." Tian Ziming roared angrily. In the empty alley, 3 figures appeared. The old City Lord sat in the corner, his face haggard. Muyu stood in front of him, silent. After a long time, the old City Lord raised his head and looked at the young man in front of him. He smiled bitterly. "That person is really you?" Muyu looked at the old City Lord's turbid and sorrowful eyes. He felt very uncomfortable in his heart. "Your sword." Xiao Shui handed the flying sword to the old City Lord and said, "Grandpa, the sword is used to kill villains, not to kill yourself." The old City Lord took the sword from Xiao Shui and smiled bitterly. You're right. After a moment of silence, Mu Yu said, You're a good person. The ones who should die should be them, not you. A good person? The old city lord looked up to the sky and sighed. It's hard to be a good person. When I asked you, if you were me, what would you do? You gave me an answer. Mu Yu said. The old city lord smiled bitterly. I'm sorry, I offended you. I didn't know at that time. I don't have the qualifications to boast in front of you. You said you wanted to save them, so I wanted to save them. Mu Yu said. The old city lord's lips squirmed twice, but he didn't say anything. But do you still want to save them now? Mu Yu asked. Everyone in the city pointed their spears at the old city lord. They wanted to kill him so that Tian Ziming could control the complete city lord's seal. His life and death were not worth mentioning in the eyes of those people. The old city lord lowered his head. Whether I want to or not, what does it matter now? It matters. They want to kill you now. You are already in charge, but if you still want to save them now, I will, Mu Yu said seriously. The old city lord was stunned. He looked at Mu Yu again and looked into his eyes, trying to see something in Mu Yu's eyes, but Mu Yu's gaze was calm. Why? Is my opinion that important to you? I'm just a useless old man, an old man who is despised by others. Why do you believe me? The old city lord was puzzled. Mu Yu said, Because this is your city. You have the right to decide their life and death. The old city lord laughed self-deprecatingly. This is no longer my city. Now, even I can't protect myself. As the city lord of a city, he was despised by the cowardly people of the city. He no longer had any prestige as the city lord. So you've given up on them? Mu Yu said, I'm confident that I can use the city protecting formation and the city lord seal to fight against Yaman. But if you give up, I will give up too. Chapter 826. The old city lord panted heavily as he looked at Mu Yu's young face that seemed to have weathered countless storms. A strange light appeared in his eyes. Although this old man's eyes are bad, I can still see that you are not an indecisive person. Why did you put this decision in my hands? I'm afraid it is not as simple as this being my city. Mu Yu nodded. The old city lord's eyes were very accurate. I'm afraid that the decision I make will be wrong, Mu Yu said honestly. He did not want to save the people of this city. He felt that these people were not worth saving. He would rather these 100,000 people be killed by Yaman. But when he had this thought, he would feel shocked. This kind of thought was unreasonable. He was afraid that he had this kind of feeling because of the power of slaughter. When the power of slaughter surrounded him, his heart was filled with hostility. He was afraid that any decision he made would be wrong. So he used Xian Zhengtang's family as a standard to balance his view of right and wrong. He wanted to let the old city lord, who was a brave and responsible person, make this kind of life and death decision for him. The old city lord sighed. You put the lives of 100,000 people in Dongsha City in my hands. I am flattered. This was a heavy responsibility. The lives of 100,000 people were in everyone's hands. It was difficult for anyone to make a decision. I'm afraid that I will make a mistake, but I believe that old Mister will not make a mistake. Mu Yu had been hiding his killing intent. He had wanted to kill Tian Ziming, but he knew that once he started killing people, he would not be able to stop. If one Tian Ziming fell, there would be a second Tian Ziming standing up. He could only keep on killing until he killed the last person in the city who wanted to suppress him. So he restrained his killing intent and did not immediately kill Tian Ziming. He needed the old city lord's guidance. I won't make a mistake. The old city lord closed his eyes and took a deep breath. If even someone like you will give up on them, then I will give up on them. I need to find where my bottom line is, Mu Yu said seriously. He wanted to avoid being controlled by the power of slaughter. The old city lord closed his eyes. The moment he closed his eyes, his mind was filled with the ugly faces of those ungrateful, greedy, and cowardly self-cultivators. Those who cursed him, those who wanted to kill him, and those who wanted to compromise with Yaman, made his heart ache. He felt as if the world was covered in dust and filth. The people in the entire city seemed so ridiculous and spineless. These people did not deserve to live at all. Their existence was the sorrow of the human race. I'm sorry, but I can't make this decision for you. Murky tears flowed from the old city lord's eyes. He couldn't go against his conscience. Muyu had given him this decision, so he had to be responsible for it. Both of them had a scale in their hearts. The lives of 100,000 people were as insignificant as a feather on this scale. They were not worth mentioning at all. What this scale truly measured was their own principles and beliefs, which were much more important than the lives of 100,000 people. The old city lord did not have the courage to pick up the scale. Muyu also could not grasp the scale. I understand. Muyu nodded. The old city lord looked at Muyu. I'm sorry. You've already given me your answer. Let's go. Muyu helped the old city lord up and wiped the mark of the city protection array off the old city lord's body. Can you tell me who you are? The old city lord asked tiredly. I'm Muyu. Muyu? You're Muyu? The old city lord's body shook. He smiled bitterly. So you're the disciple of a true god. I was blind and overestimated myself. I actually wanted to take you as my disciple. I made a fool of myself. No, you're worthy of my respect. Muyu supported the old city lord and prepared to leave the alley. But at this moment, he suddenly frowned. He turned around and saw that there was no one in the alley. His eyes flashed with doubt. What's wrong? Did they chase after us? The old city lord scanned the alley and did not find anything unusual. Muyu shook his head. Let's go. Let's go to the Mystic Beast Workshop. Old mister, you can't show your face in public anymore. The three figures disappeared into the alley once again. Not long after they left, a figure slowly appeared in the alley. Did they notice me? At the end of the alley, a figure stood in the corner as if he had been standing there for a long time. What are you going to do? He stared at the direction where Muyu disappeared and heard the vehement curses from afar. A gust of wind blew and his figure also disappeared. Muyu brought the old city lord back to the Mystic Beast Workshop. Xian Jingtang and his family were waiting for Muyu. They were relieved when they saw Muyu return. Young master, you're back. Fortunately, I thought. Xian Jingtang suddenly saw the old city lord beside Muyu and quickly shut his mouth in time. He said in surprise, City Lord? The incident in Eastern Sand City had caused an uproar. It was impossible for Xian Jingtang to not know. I'm no longer a city lord. The old city lord shook his head. Xian Jingtang thought of something and quickly said, That's right, young master. You should quickly protect the old city lord. The elders of the Stargate outside flew into a rage out of humiliation. They're leading the entire city to search from house to house to find the old city lord. The old city lord glanced at Xian Jingtang and was slightly moved. When Xian Jingtang saw him, he was not worried that he would be implicated, but that he would be persecuted. It turned out that there were still some sensible people. I understand, Uncle Xian. I'll have to trouble you to keep the matter of the old city lord a secret. Muyu said. Xian Jingtang said with a solemn face. Young master, don't worry. The old city lord is a good person. We will definitely keep our mouths shut. That's right. We are not afraid of death like them. Young master, please tell us how you want to protect the old city lord. Xian Sidong also said solemnly. Many thanks. The old city lord said gratefully. When everyone in the city wanted to kill him, Xian Jingtang's family was willing to protect him. This made the old city lord understand that not everyone in Eastern Sand City was ungrateful. Muyu thought for a moment and asked, Is there any place in Eastern Sand City that is absolutely safe? The old city lord shook his head. If Tian Zimming wants to search from house to house, he will use the strength of the entire city. No matter where he hides, it won't be safe. Lord Muyu, I think you shouldn't bother. I don't want to implicate you. Lord Muyu? Old city lord, what did you just say? Muyu? Xian Jingtang looked at the old city lord in shock, then looked at Muyu. The old city lord was stunned. You don't know? Xian Jingtang, Xian Sidong, and Qi Shan looked at each other. But, young master, you really are? Xian Jingtang was shocked. I'm sorry. I thought they knew your identity. The old city lord was a little flustered. He knew that he had accidentally let it slip. Muyu was silent for a moment. It's okay. It's fine if they know. They can trust me. Heavens! No wonder. No wonder. I knew that young master wasn't an ordinary person. You're actually a true god's disciple. I'm really shocked. Xian Zhengtang thought back to when he first met Mu Yu. He had easily killed the 6th and 7th ranked demonic beasts, and then Mu Yu had cleanly cut off the head of the Earth Imperial sex, Yi Feiying. How could someone with such strength be an unknown person? Xian Sidong and Qi Shan were also shocked. The two of them looked at Mu Yu with more respect. I don't want others to know my identity, Mu Yu said. Young master, don't worry. Even if we have to risk our lives, we will keep it a secret for you. Xian Zhengtang nodded solemnly. His mind was filled with thoughts. Who would have thought that he would meet a true God's disciple when he accidentally entered the forest to hunt demonic beasts? This was a famous genius on the supreme immortal ranking. He was really lucky to meet Mu Yu that day. Mu Yu said, "Let Tian Ziming do whatever he wants. I will protect you." Then he said to Xian Jingtang, "That's right, Uncle Xian. Help me check where Tian Ziming and his men are searching. Come back and report to me." "Yes, young master." Xian Jingtang didn't ask any more questions. He quickly jumped up and headed out of the profound beast workshop. "Old mister, I will cast a formation on you to hide your true face. Go change your clothes and hide in the crowd. Don't make a sound." The formation pattern in Mu Yu's hand surged again and stuck to the old city lord's face. He also cast the 100 Faces illusion formation on the old city lord's face and disguised it as an unfamiliar middle-aged man. "Will there be any problems with this formation?" Xian Sidong asked softly. "What I mean is Tian Ziming is the city lord of Eastern Sand City. His cultivation is very high. Sorry, I forgot that you are a true God's disciple." Xian Sidong smiled embarrassedly. In front of Mu Yu, what was a Tian Ziming? "Don't worry, people like him won't be able to see through it," Mu Yu said. The old city lord quickly changed into a new set of clothes. Mu Yu also used an array technique to cover up his aura. It was as if he had turned into another person. "Thank you, my lord." The old city lord bowed. "Old mister, you don't have to be so polite. I will protect the people I need to protect." Mu Yu helped the old city lord up and said, "If someone rushes in to search later, just blend in with the crowd and don't make sound. If someone asks, just say that you are an employee of the profound beast workshop." "Yes." The old city lord nodded. "Old mister, please go to the room to heal your injuries first," Mu Yu said. Xian Sidong hurriedly helped the old city lord to another room. Only Mu Yu and Little Shuai were left in the courtyard. Little Shuai sat on the table and looked at Mu Yu curiously. "So, Mu Yu, what is your decision now?" Mu Yu sat down and looked up at Yuman, who was still glaring at the sky above Eastern Sand City. He then said, "The old city lord's decision is my decision." But he didn't say anything just now. Little Shuai said, puzzled. He said it. When the old city lord said that he couldn't make a decision for Mu Yu already understood what the old city lord's decision was. Chapter 827. The entire city was in an uproar. Mu Yu saved the old city lord in front of everyone and angered the entire city. They all wanted to kill the old city lord and let Tian Ziming completely control the city lord's seal. Only then would Tian Ziming be able to use the city lord's seal and the city protection array to trap the mysterious tribulation passing stage cultivator. This group of idiots thought that as long as they worked together, they wouldn't have to worry about the mysterious tribulation passing stage cultivator attacking them with the prestige of the 8 gates. Therefore, they became even more unscrupulous. However, they didn't know that they were still alive because Mu Yu didn't want to kill people in front of everyone. Now, every time Mu Yu killed someone, the evil aura in his heart would flourish and the power of killing would have a deeper influence on him. Once he started killing, he would fall into an ice-cold massacre. He would continue killing, and if Little Commander didn't stop him, the entire city would be killed by him. Therefore, Mu Yu restrained himself. This also gave this group of people who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a reason to be even more unscrupulous. Every house and every corner of Eastern Sand City was searched. They searched everywhere for the old city lord's whereabouts. Because Eastern Sand City was trapped by Yuman's 5 elements formation, the old city lord must still be in the city. As long as they gathered the strength of the entire city, the old city lord would have nowhere to hide and would definitely be captured and killed by them. In order to survive, this group of self-cultivators could send others to their deaths. Their passion had always been used to deal with their own people. Soon, Tian Zimming led the self-cultivators into the mystic beast workshop. The old city lord lowered his head and blended into the crowd, protected by Mu Yu behind him. Xian Jingtang's family also looked at this group of self-cultivators with fear and trepidation, allowing them to search. These self-cultivators were very barbaric. After they rushed in, they didn't care about anything else. They opened every door and directly searched for people. They didn't even let Madame Xian, who was lying on the bed and being devoured by the heavenly fire, off. She was chased into the courtyard to be interrogated. "What's covering your hand?" Tian Zimming stared at Madame Xian's hand. Because Madame Xian was holding a frost stone, it attracted Tian Zimming's attention. Xian Jingtang hurriedly stood up and respectfully said, "Sir, my wife was attacked by the heaven-rank Huiyu Ming outside Eastern Sand City last month. The flames have not been extinguished yet. This is a frost stone. It can reduce the pain." Madame Xian showed the flame in her hand to everyone. Everyone frowned when they saw the flame in Madame Xian's hand. "Why did Huiyameng only attack you when there were so many others? Are you also the person Yumon is looking for?" Tian Zimming coldly snorted. Xian Jingtang's expression changed when he heard this, and he hurriedly said, "Sir, you've misunderstood. At that time, Huiyameng attacked many people, and many people died because of it. We were far away, so we were spared. Many people know about this. If you don't believe me, you can ask others." Soon, a cultivator walked out from behind and whispered a few words in Tian Zimming's ear, confirming this point. Fire Yaman had been frequently appearing near Eastern Sand City since a few months ago. A while ago, it had indeed attacked many cultivators. At that time, Xian Jingtang and his wife had been hunting demonic beasts when they encountered Huiyameng. However, Tian Zimming coldly said, "The Huiyameng devil clan attacked us. With their methods, they won't let any Zayashinists go. Only your wife survived. Does your wife mean something to them?" Xian Jingtang earnestly said, "Sir, my wife and I are both from small sections. We have been in Eastern Sand City for many years. We're just ordinary cultivators. If you insist on saying what we mean to the Yumon, then I'm afraid we are enemies. Sir, please understand." Tian Zimming swept his eyes over everyone and said, "The Yumeng demon clan has always killed without batting an eyelid. You surviving at their hands is most likely a humiliation to them. Perhaps they decided to attack Eastern Sand City out of anger. You cannot absolve yourself from the blame." "Sir, what are you talking about? Are we cultivators only right to be killed by the Yaman?" Xian Jingtang was enraged by Tian Zimming's words. His wife was suffering because of Huiyameng. He hated the Yaman to the core, but he didn't expect Tian Zimming to say such irresponsible words at a time like this. "How dare you? You dare to question my words?" Tian Zimming coldly rebuked. Xian Jingtang gritted his teeth and said, "Sir, we are just ordinary cultivators. If Fire Yaman really came for my wife, as you said, then it should have come long ago. Why wait until now? Oomph. How would I know what Fire Yaman is thinking? However, I am now the city lord of Eastern Sand City. Everything has to be done for the greater good. No matter what, I have to be fully prepared. If Huiyameng wants to kill your wife, then for the sake of everyone in Eastern Sand City, you have to make a sacrifice and let Huiyameng kill you." Tian Zimming shouted, "Let Huiyameng kill you?" Mu Yu's heart was filled with anger. Tian Zimming actually dared to say such words in order to protect himself. However, what Mu Yu didn't expect was that the cultivators who followed Tian Zimming actually agreed with Tian Zimming's words. One after another, they echoed Tian Zimming's words. "That's right. We have to capture this woman. After 3 days, we have to hand her over as well. She escaped a calamity last time. If we hand her over to Huiyameng to deal with, I'm sure Huiyameng will vent his anger after killing her. At that time, our chances of survival will be greater. That's right. We should hand this woman over. For the sake of our Eastern Sand City survival, we have to make a sacrifice. That's right. If Hua Yaman sees us handing over a cultivator who hasn't been burned to death by the heavenly fire, he will definitely be very satisfied. That way, our chances of survival will be greater. Capture her. The cultivators began to speak eloquently against Madame Xian. At this moment of life and death, they didn't think about how to wage war against Yaman. Instead, they thought about how to curry favor with Hui Yameng outside, how to make Hui Yameng vent his anger and let the humans of Eastern Sand City go. How can you all? No one is allowed to capture my wife. Xian Zhengdang frantically shielded Madame Xian behind him. He had never imagined that these people would be so cowardly. They all thought that sending an innocent victim to Hui Yameng would give them a chance of survival. You are not allowed to touch my mother, Xian Sidong shouted and also shielded Madame Xian behind her. Qishan also frantically surrounded Madame Xian with Xian Zhengtang and Xian Sidong, facing the aggressive cultivators. Madame Xian's face was pale. She also didn't think that she would become the target of public criticism. These cultivators who were assisting in the search all wanted to capture her. Mu Yu clenched his fists. His heart surged with a monstrous killing intent. People like Tian Ziming deserved to die. However, he tried his best to conceal his killing intent. He didn't want to kill in front of so many people. Once Tian Ziming died in the Mystic Beast Workshop, all the cultivators in Eastern Sand City would point their spears at the Mystic Beast Workshop. Mu Yu couldn't implicate the people here. Mu Yu coldly said, Yaman will only feel relieved after killing a human. I believe that it's not just Madame Xian. If any of you cultivators were to be sent to Yaman, Yaman would kill you to vent his anger. Since you keep on saying that you will sacrifice yourself for the lives of all the people in Eastern Sand City, then why don't you take the initiative to stand out and send 8 or 10 of you to Yaman to die? Mu Yu's words caused everyone present to quiet down. Everyone looked at Mu Yu in bewilderment. Right now, everyone wanted to compromise with Yaman because they were greedy for life and afraid of death. They wanted to send Madame Xian out to be killed by Fire Yaman to vent his anger. How could they be willing to take the initiative to stand out? Who are you? You dare to mislead people with your lies? Are you courting death? Tian Ziming stared at Mu Yu in an overbearing manner. I'm just a worker in the Mystic Beast Workshop. Mu Yu looked at Tian Ziming with a cold expression. A cold glint flashed through his eyes and was reflected in Tian Ziming's eyes. Suddenly, Tian Ziming's heart inexplicably trembled. Tian Ziming thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He fiercely squinted his eyes and shouted, A little worker dares to spout nonsense here. I think I should also capture you and send you to Fire Yaman to be executed. Killing intent soared in Mu Yu's heart. The killing intent was about to spread out. An idiot like Tian Ziming didn't deserve to live. Not now. Little Shuai grabbed Mu Yu's hand in time and tried his best to suppress the killing intent in Mu Yu's body. If he killed in front of so many people, he would have to face all the cultivators. If he couldn't control it, he would most likely continue to kill until he killed everyone. Moreover, he would put everyone in the Mystic Beast Workshop in danger. I'll go kill him tonight. You don't have to do anything. Little Shuai's words resounded in Mu Yu's heart. At this moment, a bald old man suddenly walked out from the crowd. He walked to Tian Ziming's side and said respectfully, My lord, please calm down. My lord, we still have to hurry to find that person. How about you leave this matter to this lowly one? Who are you? Tian Ziming looked at the bald old man and asked. The bald old man bowed humbly and smiled apologetically. My lord, this lowly one is the great elder of the Burning Sea sect, Gao Yixing. These two are members of my Burning Sea sect. My lord, don't worry, I will give them some thought. My lord, it's more important for you to go and capture the criminals. In any case, Eastern Sand City has been sealed off, so they can't escape. Tian Ziming sized up the bald old man and nodded. I remember you. You're the one who gave me advice yesterday. Very good. Since they are your people, don't disappoint me. Yes. My lord still remembers this lowly one. This lowly one is really flattered. My lord, don't worry. This lowly one will definitely not disappoint you. The bald old man almost bowed to the ground. Tian Ziming snorted and then left with the other cultivators. After Tian Ziming left, The bald old man straightened his back. He turned around and lightly snorted. Old 3, your performance today wasn't too good. Great Elder, when did you come here? When Xianzhengtang saw the bald old man, his face revealed a shocked expression. The bald old man's appearance greatly surprised him. Chapter 828. OL3, if I hadn't come today, I'm afraid that things wouldn't have been able to stop, right? The bald old man had an aloof look, which was completely different from the image of him bowing and scraping in front of Tian Ziming. Xianzhengtang clenched his teeth and said, "Thank you, Great Elder, for helping us out." Although Xianzhengtang didn't like this Great Elder, it was undeniable that if it wasn't for the Great Elder's presence, Tian Ziming wouldn't have let it go so easily. The Great Elder's name was Gao Yixing. He had a pointy mouth and monkey cheeks. He had a few strands of sparse beard on his chin, triangular eyes, and no eyebrows. He looked very unharmonious. Xian Sidong frowned and asked solemnly, "Great Elder, what did you mean when you said that you wanted to help us think? Don't tell me you want to hand my mother over as well?" Xian Sidong understood the bald man in front of her. As the Burning Sea sect's Great Elder, he kept pocketing money and even forced the Profound Beast Workshop to hand over half of their income. If the Great Elder was so kind as to help them out, it wouldn't make sense at all. Gao Yixing smiled faintly and said with his chest puffed out, "Sitong, what are you saying? If I hadn't said that just now, how could the city lord let you guys off?" Muyu looked at Gao Yixing. Gao Yixing's bowing and scraping appearance in front of Tian Ziming made him feel disgusted. Even now, there was still a trace of an aloof, fake smile on his face. According to Xian Sidong's description of Gao Yixing, this Great Elder wasn't a good person. Great Elder, Eastern Sand City was already trapped yesterday. This means that you came to Eastern Sand City long before Yaman's attack. Why did you only come to the Profound Beast Workshop now? Xianzhengtang asked in a deep voice. Gao Yixing twirled a few strands of his sparse beard and said, "Actually, I just arrived yesterday. Not long after I entered Eastern Sand City, I encountered the Yu Ming demon clan. Together with everyone else, I joined the battle against Yu Ming. As for last night, I naturally want to find out what happened next. I'm afraid you want to curry favor with Tian Ziming, right?" Muyu mocked from the side. Everyone clearly heard what Tian Ziming said just now. Perhaps the plan to capture that mysterious person and seize He Jinglong's city lord position was Gao Yixing's idea. This guy really wasn't someone easy to deal with. After coming to Eastern Sand City, he didn't think of going to the Profound Beast Workshop, but directly currying favor with Tian Ziming. Gao Yixing fiercely glared at Mu Yu and angrily rebuked, "We're talking. Why are you interrupting? Xianzhengtang, can the business of the Mystic Beast Workshop be good if you find such an impolite worker? With people like you, the Mystic Beast Workshop won't be doing well." Little Shuai snorted from the side. "Where did this brat come from? Do you want to die?" Gao Yixing's face darkened. Xianzhengtang suppressed the anger in his heart. He was also annoyed by this uninvited guest, Great Elder, and said, "Great Elder, these two are honored guests of the Mystic Beast Workshop, not workers. Don't misunderstand." Gao Yixing glanced at Mu Yu and Little Shuai with contempt and said, "I don't care if he's a worker or an honored guest. In short, you've seen what happened today. Everyone wants to capture Yin Hanyu and hand him over to Yuman to deal with. Fortunately, the current city lord believes in my words, so only I can save Yin Hanyu." He deliberately emphasized the words "the current city lord," as if being able to obtain the title of the current city lord was a great thing. The old city lord clenched his fist from the side. "That's really awe-inspiring. I hope that by currying favor with the current city lord, Yuman will spare your life when he breaks into the city." Mu Yu sneered. "Are you courting death?" Gao Yixing was furious. "You could try." Mu Yu was filled with killing intent. Xianjingtang saw that the situation wasn't right, and quickly said, "Great Elder, you must be tired from the journey. Sit down first." Xianjingtang now knew of Mu Yu's identity. Although the Great Elder looked very annoying, he was still a member of their Burning Sea sect. If he was killed by Mu Yu with a slap, it would be bad. Gao Yixing slowly walked to the stone chair in the courtyard and sat down. Seeing that the tea on the table was already empty, he said unhappily, "You don't even have tea for guests here? Qishan, go quickly." Xian Jingtang gestured, and Qishan quickly ran to the kitchen. After a while, he came back with a pot of water and showed Gao Yixing the tea. Gao Yixing drank a mouthful of tea, then spat it out and scolded. "Qishan, what kind of tea are you brewing? The water isn't even boiling?" Qishan said with a face full of grievance. "Great Elder, the water in the kitchen has always been boiling. You also know that we sometimes need scalding hot water to deal with demon beast fur, so the hot water has never been interrupted." "Bastard! Using the hot water used to deal with demon beasts to make tea for me. Do you still see me as the Great Elder?" Gao Yixing angrily scolded. "Qishan, go boil another pot." Xian Zhongtang waved his hand. Qishan held back his anger. The Great Elder had always liked to put on airs when he was in the sect. He also liked to scold other disciples. Whenever a disciple didn't do a good job, he would scold him. The boiling water in the kitchen was originally clean. When dealing with demon beasts, he only needed to bring the boiled water to the workshop. There was no difference at all. But since the Great Elder was nitpicking, he couldn't do anything about it. "Great Elder, since you know Lord Tian Zimming, then please say some good words in front of Lord Tian Zimming. Is that okay?" Xian Zhongtang said. Gao Yixing's face deliberately showed a trace of embarrassment and said, "Third brother, now that the enemy is in front of us, you should also know that everyone attaches great importance to anything related to Yumeng. The current city lord is Tian Zimming. Although he can listen to my words, you can't make it difficult for me. Otherwise, wouldn't I betray his trust in me? Great Elder, Han Yu is a member of our Burning Sea sect. How can you just watch her die?" Xian Zhongtang's heart was burning with anger. Gao Yixing pondered for a moment and slowly said, "It's not that I don't want to save her, but you have to understand some things. In the cultivation world, you have to understand the ways of the world. Lord Tian Zimming is not an unreasonable person, but if you want my help, at least let me arrange it. Do you understand what I'm saying?" "Great Elder, what are you trying to say?" Xian Zhongtang was an upright person. For a moment, he didn't understand what Gao Yixing was talking about. Mu Yu disdainfully said, "You mean to use spirit stones to bribe Tian Zimming?" Gao Yixing looked at Mu Yu with appreciation and continued to say to Xian Zhongtang, "Third brother, you see, your brain is not as bright as the young people. How can you accomplish great things like this?" Xian Jingtang clenched his teeth and asked, "Great Elder, how much do you think is appropriate?" Gao Yixing reached out and played with the teacup and said earnestly, "Tian Zimming is a great figure of the form synthesis stage. With his identity, how can he put too few spirit stones in his eyes? At least 100,000 or 1,000,000. Xian Zhongtang said in a deep voice, "But Great Elder, I've only just managed to gather 5,000,000 spirit stones. I'm going to buy the Taisher Purple Heaven Pill for Han Yu's treatment. How can I take out an extra 1,000,000? Gao Yixing's expression froze, and a greedy look flashed in his eyes. He asked, "You haven't spent the 5,000,000 yet, right?" "I haven't had time to spend it. 100 Herb Hall doesn't have the Taisher Purple Heaven Pill." Xian Zhongtang sighed. Gao Yixing coughed twice, restraining the greed in his eyes, and said earnestly, "Third brother, the Yu Meng Devil Clan is eyeing us covetously outside, and everyone is anxious to send Han Yu out to curry favor with the Yu Meng Devil Clan. What you should be thinking about now is how to save Han Yu's life. If you're still unwilling to part with the 5,000,000, it'll be too late for you to regret it when Han Yu is captured by them." Qishan once again brought tea. Gao Yixing slowly poured himself a cup of tea and continued, "How about this? You give me the 5,000,000 and I'll take care of it. Maybe Tian Zimming will be happy and let Han Yu go. Don't you think so?" Xian Jingtang was stunned and said, "But that's the 5,000,000 I've painstakingly saved up. It's to treat Han Yu's illness. If I take it out, when will I be able to save up another 5,000,000? Third brother, you're in the wrong. Money can be earned again, but if you're gone, you'll lose everything. You can earn 5,000,000 spirit stones in just 2 months. Are you worried that you won't be able to earn it in the remaining 2 months? You have to think carefully about which is more important. Gao Yixing sighed bitterly. Mu Yu said sarcastically, "What's wrong? The enemy is right in front of us. If the city lord doesn't take care of us, does he still have time to accept bribes? So, money could buy a life from the Yumeng Devil clan? Then why don't you just gather all the spirit stones in the entire Eastern Sand City and bribe Yaman? Maybe Yaman will be happy and withdraw his troops." Gao Yixing was choked by Mu Yu and was very dissatisfied. He reprimanded, "You're not a member of our Mystic Beast workshop. Why do we need you to interrupt us?" Gao Yixing turned his head and said to Xian Zhengtang, "Third brother, I'm only willing to help you because we're from the same sect. If you don't appreciate it, don't blame me if something happens." Mu Yu's gaze turned cold. "Let me think. If Uncle Xian gave you 5 million spirit stones, I think it would enter your pocket in the blink of an eye, right? How could a villain like you care about favors? If you cared about favors, you wouldn't have been squeezing Uncle Xian dry, right? Bastard, what right do you have to speak here?" Gao Yixing, whose lie was exposed, flew into a rage out of humiliation. He slammed the table and stood up. "However," Mu Yu said coldly, "a villain like you doesn't deserve to live in this world." The pressure of a body fusion stage instantly enveloped Gao Yixing. A killing intent was faintly discernible. Mu Yu's shadow clone sword was already about to attack. Gao Yixing turned pale with fright. He didn't expect that Mu Yu, who looked like he was only at the out-of-body stage, was actually a hidden body fusion stage expert. At this moment, he was locked on by that faintly discernible killing intent and was immediately scared out of his wits. "Wait, young master, have mercy." Xian Jingtang hurriedly stood in front of Gao Yixing and said earnestly, "Young master, don't kill him. If a person like him doesn't die, you'll be squeezed by him for the rest of your life." Mu Yu's sword stopped in midair. Xian Zhengtang smiled bitterly. "I know, but Great Elder is still a member of our Burning Sea sect. If he dies in my Mystic Beast workshop, I won't be able to escape the blame. A person like him doesn't deserve to die. There's no need to pity him." Mu Yu's murderous gaze fell on Gao Yixing. Gao Yixing was so scared that his face turned ashen. He was so scared that his pants were wet. "Old three, save me." Gao Yixing sat paralyzed on the ground and pulled on Xian Jingtang's clothes in horror. Originally, he just wanted to extort Xian Jingtang, but he didn't expect that Xian Jingtang had a hidden expert. "Young master, Yaman is still eyeing covetously outside." Gao Yixing is also a spirit-severing stage cultivator. If he dies, we'll have one less power to maintain the city defense array, Xian Zhengtang said earnestly. Mu Yu slowly withdrew his sword, glanced at Xian Zhengtang, and then shouted at Gao Yixing, "Get out. The next time I see you, I'll definitely kill you." Yes, yes, yes. "Sir, please spare my life. This lowly one has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive me for offending you." Gao Yixing knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. His panicked appearance was completely different from his previous majestic and arrogant image. Scram! Mu Yu waved his hand, and Gao Yixing felt as if he was swept by a huge force. Then he was thrown out like a sandbag and smashed into the street, smashing the stones on the street. Gao Yixing got up from the ground with a grimace. Several of his ribs were broken. His eyes flashed with resentment as he angrily glanced at the profound beast workshop. "Just you wait." Gao Yixing spat and then disappeared on the street. "Little handsome, let's go out." Mu Yu looked at Gao Yixing's disappearing figure and called out to Little Handsome. "Young master, where are you going?" Xian Jingtang hurriedly asked. "I'm going out to see the situation. Protect the old city lord first. Don't casually leave the profound beast workshop." Mu Yu brought Little Handsome and walked towards the entrance of the profound beast workshop. Just now, he didn't kill Gao Yixing on the spot because of Xian Jingtang, but that didn't mean that Gao Yixing could live. If he didn't get rid of this kind of person, there would be endless trouble in the future. Xian Jingtang wouldn't have it easy either. "That's right. Let's just kill Tian Zimming directly," Little Handsome said. Mu Yu nodded indifferently. "Don't let off a single person who deserves to die. They didn't kill people in the profound beast workshop just to avoid the profound beast workshop being targeted by all the cultivators in the city. But they didn't have to worry about killing people outside. People like Tian Zimming deserved to die. Mu Yu and Little Handsome left the profound beast workshop. Looking at Gao Yixing's back, they quickly followed. But at this moment, that strange feeling emerged in Mu Yu's heart again. He suddenly looked towards the empty alley, but he still didn't see anything strange. Is it still an illusion? Mu Yu was very doubtful. Did you sense that someone was spying on you again? Little Handsome asked. Mu Yu wasn't sure. His senses were very sharp, but the person in the dark seemed to be even more powerful and didn't let him catch a trace. Behind you. A hoarse voice suddenly came from behind Mu Yu. Mu Yu was shocked. Chapter 829. This was a young man dressed in gray. He was about the same height as Mu Yu. His aura was calm and reserved, like a dormant volcano waiting to erupt, especially his eyes, which faintly emitted a red light. At some point, one could even see a flame flashing. Luo Shang. Mu Yu was extremely surprised. The young man in front of him was his second senior brother, Luo Shang, who had the ability to control flames. Luo Shang faintly nodded without any superfluous expression. His expression was cold and aloof. Why are you here? Mu Yu's heart was surging with emotions. After wandering around the cultivation world, he was quite touched to see Luo Shang suddenly. Ever since they parted ways in Clearwater City, the four of them went their separate ways for their own beliefs and never met each other again. It had been almost 2 years. It's not convenient to talk here. Follow me. Luo Shang said. Mu Yu thought of something and said, Wait, I need your help with something. What is it? Luo Shang asked. I know someone who was burned by Heaven Rank Hui Yuming's heavenly fire. Can you remove it? Mu Yu glanced at Gao Yixing, who disappeared into the crowd, and retracted his killing intent. He planned to remove Madame Xian's heavenly fire first. Luo Shang nodded in silence. Then Mu Yu brought Luo Shang back to the Xian Beast Workshop. Xian Jingtang saw Mu Yu come back with a gray-clothed young man. While he was puzzled, Mu Yu said, Uncle, where's Madame Xian? She's resting inside. What's wrong? Go and call her out. No need. Luo Shang lightly snapped his fingers. Then, Xian Sitong's exclamation suddenly came from the room. Then, a flame suddenly jumped out of the room and circled in the air before disappearing. Ah, Father, come take a look. The heavenly fire on Mother's body disappeared. Oh my God. Xian Sitong's surprised voice came from the room. Xian Jingtang was extremely shocked as he hurriedly ran into the room. Mu Yu raised his eyebrows. You directly use your ability to control fire in front of them. You trust them, so I don't need to doubt them, Luo Shang said simply. Mu Yu gave a faint smile. He knew that Xian Jingtang would not speak about this matter. Come with me, Luo Shang said. I want to kill Tian Zimming and Gao Yixing. Mu Yu said, They will die without a doubt. There is no need to do this, Luo Shang said. Mu Yu was silent for a moment. He glanced at Xian Zhengtang's family, who were crying tears of joy in the room, then nodded. He carried little Shuai and Luo Shang and disappeared from the Mystic Beast Workshop. Luo Shang pushed open the door of an abandoned house in a remote corner of Eastern Sand City and walked in. A musty smell assailed his nostrils. It looked like no one had lived here for decades. The house was full of cobwebs and dust. There were also messy footprints on the ground. It seemed that many people had been here. It should be the group of people who were searching. You live here? Mu Yu asked in surprise. Luo Shang casually took 2 steps forward. A flame swept out from Luo Shang's body and enveloped the entire house. Then, the flame gradually dissipated, and the entire room looked brand new. It became a clean and tidy room. The floor was spotless, and there was ample light. It was a sharp contrast to the room from before. This is the 5 elements formation. Mu Yu looked at the dissipating flame and nodded thoughtfully. The Yaman Devil Clan's array formation was completely different from the Human Clan's array formation. The Yaman Devil Clan's array formation relied on the 5 elements, while the Human Clan's array formation relied on spiritual power. Mu Yu didn't know how to use the array formation. Master didn't let us learn the human formation but he didn't say that we can't learn the five-element formation. Luo Shang's gray clothes had turned fiery red. His clothes were as bright and dazzling as burning flames. It was difficult not to attract attention when he walked out. Muyu felt that there was something extra on Luo Shang's body. It felt familiar, yet unfamiliar. Then, Muyu understood what it was. It was because he had it on his body too. You've obtained the power to kill. Little Shuai jumped onto the table and looked at Luo Shang curiously. Who is this child? Luo Shang asked. Little Shuai, you've seen Master Sword Spirit before. Muyu also sat down. When he suddenly saw Luo Shang, he felt very emotional. In the past, because of Lan Ling, Muyu did not like his second senior brother. However, Luo Shang did not like Muyu either. It was only because of his identity as the second senior brother that Luo Shang helped Muyu many times. Why are you here? Muyu asked. He knew that everyone must have experienced a lot in the past 2 years. Muyu had obtained the power to kill through a special method, and Luo Shang must have had his own past. You shouldn't have revealed your power to kill yesterday. Luo Shang did not answer Muyu directly. Muyu pursed his lips and said indifferently, At that time, I wanted to protect this city. Is that so? Then what did you get in return? Luo Shang's tone was very cold. Muyu frowned. Back in Clearwater City, it was you and eldest senior brother who chose to protect the human race. I'm tired of it. Luo Shang's eyes flashed with fatigue and disappointment. Muyu was silent. He knew what Luo Shang was thinking. Many times, he also questioned himself. Was protecting the human race really that important? He silently helped the human race, but in the end, what did those cultivators give him? All the cultivators in Eastern Sand City had to compromise with Yumon to suppress Muyu, who had helped them. After a long time, Muyu slowly said, Me too. He was tired of the human race's deception, tired of the cultivators' cowardice, tired of the human race's hypocrisy. He did not understand why he had to continue helping the human race. His master had sacrificed himself to protect the human race, and Muyu respected his master's wishes. He had always believed that his master had his reasons for doing so. However, the third palace had also attacked Jining and Qinfeng. Now, he had used his power to help stabilize the city's defensive array, but he had also become the target of the cultivators' crusade. But I promised someone to protect this city. I have to deal with the trouble I caused myself. Muyu shook his head. The old city lord said that he could not make the decision for Muyu because he had become the person in charge. He understood how it felt to be forced to die. At this time, asking Muyu to help the entire city was undoubtedly asking for too much. Therefore, the old city lord did not dare to tell Muyu that he had to take responsibility for the entire city. Muyu knew that even though the old city lord was being suppressed by the cultivators in the city, he still wanted to save the people of the city. Since Muyu had let the old city lord make the decision, he would save them. Did you promise He Jinglong? He is indeed an admirable person. Luo Shang's eyes revealed a rare trace of admiration, but it was fleeting. He then continued, But saving a bunch of ungrateful people will not give you anything. They will never be grateful to you. I don't need them to be grateful to me. I just want to do the right thing, Muyu said calmly. The aura of slaughter was constantly affecting him. He could no longer determine what was right. He let the old city lord make the decision for him. So he would do as the old city lord said. He had to know where his bottom line was when he had the power of slaughter. Luo Shang knew that Muyu was talking about. He then pointed at the teapot and asked, Do you want to drink tea? You like to drink tea? Muyu never knew that Luo Shang, who could control flames, liked to drink tea. Then he remembered that he did not seem to know much about Luo Shang. Muyu shook the teapot and found that it was cold. Master likes to drink tea. When we were at Falling Dust Mountain, he said that I should learn to drink tea. Tea can calm people down and prevent them from losing themselves because of irritation. Therefore, I also like to drink tea. Luo Shang picked up the teapot and walked to the shabby well outside to fetch some water. When he came back, the tea was already boiling hot and slightly steaming. He poured a cup for Muyu and another for himself. The tea was steaming and had a green color. A fragrance assailed their nostrils. Luo Shang said, Master said that drinking tea requires a calm mind. Muyu took a sip. The boiling hot tea entered his throat, but he only tasted a bitter taste. It was the same feeling he had when he was attacked by those cultivators. I can't remember the sweetness of the tea. Muyu put down the teacup. Luo Shang picked up the teacup and gently shook it twice. He sniffed the tea fragrance and took a sip. His actions were very natural. However, Luo Shang also shook his head. After leaving Falling Dust Mountain, I can no longer feel the tranquility of drinking tea with Master. The fragrance of the tea lingered, but could not calm the two of them. Master said that we have to protect the cultivators. I really don't see the point of protecting them, Luo Shang said. Muyu did the same. He did not want to do this. He would rather watch Eastern Sand City be destroyed by Yumon and make those ungrateful and selfish cowards pay the price. But I have to protect these cultivators. Because I was the one who led them here, I have to take responsibility. I think Master would say the same thing to me. Muyu's heart was in a constant struggle. He tried hard to tell himself that this was the only right thing to do. There was a long silence. Xiao Shuai was bored to death. He poured the water from the two teacups back and forth and poured it back into the teapot. Then, he covered the two teacups with each other and put the teapot on top of the teapot. He smiled very happily. He would not think so much about right and wrong. Luo Shang broke the silence. They are here for me. Muyu raised his head and looked at Luo Shang. He frowned and said, "Are you saying that Yumon attacked Eastern Sand City this time to find you?" Luo Shang nodded. Muyu had always thought that when he killed Yi Feiying, Yumon sensed Yumon's killing power. That was why Yumon suddenly attacked Eastern Sand City. I've been living here for a few months. I've been trying to find out about Yumon's situation. Priest Fire has been trying to capture me, but I've carefully hidden my killing power. Yesterday morning, I went deep in the mountains to scout for information and was discovered by Priest Fire. That's why he gathered Jin Yumeng and Tu Yumeng to come to Eastern Sand City to capture me, Luo Shang said calmly. Muyu was a little surprised. He did not understand why Yumon would suddenly attack Eastern Sand City. Now, he realized that it was all because of Luo Shang. So when I used my killing power yesterday, they mistook me for you? Muyu asked. Luo Shang nodded. Muyu felt as if a rock had been lifted from his heart. If that was the case, then he did not have to bear this responsibility. Even if 100,000 people in Eastern Sand City were slaughtered by Yumon, it would have nothing to do with him. Do you know what I found out yesterday morning? Luo Shang did not feel guilty. His expression was still very cold. What? They planned to use the 5 elements apocalypse to destroy Eastern Sand City in 5 days to collect their killing power. So even if they did not attack yesterday morning, they would have slaughtered Eastern Sand City in a few days? Luo Shang replied. Then why did they suddenly attack yesterday? Because I was discovered by them. They were worried that the news would leak and the cultivators in Eastern Sand City would be moved away. That would be a failure, so they immediately brought forward the plan. Luo Shang snorted softly. So that's why. Muyu was silent for a moment. Then he asked, "Those 3 young giants are Yumon's priests?" "That's right. Priest Fire, Priest Earth, and Priest Gold. Why do they have killing power on their bodies?" Muyu could not understand this. The 3 Yumeng giants from yesterday were filled with killing intent, as if they were gods of slaughter. There was no mistaking that aura. However, only the 5 Yumeng spirit lords possessed the killing power. None of the other Yumeng could control it. Why did it seem like the 3 of them had not become pure killing machines? They found the killing power in the previous Yumeng spirit lord and used special methods to use this power. After all, this power does not belong to them. So they need to constantly kill to maintain their killing power. The human race has already destroyed 3 cities. Eastern Sand City will be the 4th. Luo Shang was neither sad nor happy about this result. Why do they want to fuse with the killing power themselves? I thought they would come to find the 5 of us. Muyu didn't understand this matter. Find us and release Spirit, Lord Yumeng, from our bodies. At that time, won't Yumeng Demon Clan have a leader? Luo Shang shook his head. As far as I know, they haven't found any of the 5 of us yet. If they can't get Spirit Lord Yumeng back, they will definitely be defeated by the humans led by the threefold palace. Therefore, they decided to strike first to gain the upper hand. Before the battle starts, they will stabilize the killing energy in the oracle's bodies, just in case. Yumeng destroyed 3 cities, so why hasn't the threefold palace done anything? Little Commander asked. Mu Yu and Luo Shang both turned to look at Little Commander. Little Commander thought of something and stuck out his tongue. He waved his hand and said, "Oh, I forgot. Yaman massacred 3 cities and killed the people of those 3 cities. This meant that countless humans had died and turned into the purest soul power, which became the source of power for the threefold palace. Yaman obtained the killing power and could increase his strength so that he would not be easily defeated by the humans. The longer the battle lasted, the more soul power would be produced. This was something that the threefold palace wanted to see, so why would they do anything to stop it?" Chapter 830. Luo Shang remained silent. A faint flame burned in his eyes. The flame was arrogant and cold, with a hint of hostility. Mu Yu didn't ask any more questions. The two of them just sat there, neither of them speaking. Only little Shuai sat on the table, chewing on an apple, his voice crisp and clear. "Did you come looking for me today because of the cultivators of Dongsha City?" Mu Yu broke the silence. Luo Shang shook his head. "Their lives and deaths have nothing to do with me." His voice was very hoarse and calm, as if he was talking about something very simple. "That's your responsibility," Mu Yu said. "I told you, I'm tired of it." Luo Shang didn't hide anything. Mu Yu was tired of it too. They were both tired of the ugly nature of cultivators. "Then what are you going to do next?" "I'm going to raise my cultivation, kill my way into the third palace, and save Master," Luo Shang said calmly. Mu Yu stared at Luo Shang. "Can you watch as everyone in Dongsha City dies at Meng's hands with a clear conscience?" "I can," Luo Shang replied. He didn't even hesitate when he said, "I can." Mu Yu shook his head. "So our roles have been reversed." Back in Clearwater City, Mu Yu had insisted on finding a way to dispel the 9 Heavens ceiling formation. He hadn't considered the consequences of doing so. At the time, Qian and Luo Shang had wanted to stop him because they wanted to uphold their master's will and protect the world of cultivators with the lives of the cultivators. But now, Mu Yu still believed that protecting the cultivators of Dongsha City was a responsible choice. Luo Shang, on the other hand, didn't want to get involved in this matter. "They're not worth my protection," Luo Shang said. Mu Yu clenched his fists, then relaxed them. Even now, the self-cultivators outside were still searching for his whereabouts. They wanted to hand him over to the Yumeng Devil clan. What was the point of protecting such a self-cultivator? "I also have the power of slaughter in my body. I know what it means. You don't have to force yourself," Luo Shang continued. Mu Yu's originally calm heart was stirred by Luo Shang's words. He knew that Luo Shang's words were correct. After continuously using the power of slaughter, that power had long since quietly changed Mu Yu's personality. Now, Mu Yu's temperament had become very calm. Life was insignificant to him, but he still maintained his sense of right and wrong, and maintained his most primitive rationality. He tried his best to convince himself that Meng had made a mistake by massacring the cultivators of Yisan City. He believed that people like Xian Jingtang and the old city lord deserved to live. "Then what is your purpose in bringing me here?" Mu Yu asked. "The 5 elements apocalypse is an extremely powerful 5 elements array formation. The city protecting array will not be able to defend against it. That is why I want to bring you out of Yisan City," Luo Shang said. "You know how to leave this place?" Mu Yu looked surprised. Luo Shang nodded. Raging flames swept out of his hand again, circling around the center of the room. Then, 5 array bases appeared in the center of the room. 10,000-year green wood, black sea chen ice, ancient spirit fire, outer meteoric iron, and frozen rock. These 5 items that belong to Meng formed a teleportation array. "I will leave a way out for myself," Luo Shang said. "This teleportation array can only teleport Meng." Mu Yu frowned. When Mu Yu and Tian Ran had gone through Meng's teleportation array together, he had been fine. However, Tian Ran had almost been killed by the teleportation array's powerful power. Mu Ling had protected Tian Ran in time. That time, he had also squeezed Little Handsome out of his eggshell. I only wanted to bring you with me. Luo Shang did not hide anything. But I can't let all the cultivators of East Sand City die. Mu Yu shook his head. He had promised the old city lord. Luo Shang said, "This is my responsibility. I don't want to be responsible. You don't have to be responsible either." Besides, Luo Shang looked into Mu Yu's eyes and continued, "You can't save them. Not necessarily. Teach me the 5 elements array formation. I can modify it," Mu Yu said seriously. He could repair the city-protecting array and make it have a powerful counterattack ability. If it could not block it, he could use the 5 elements teleportation array to leave this place. Back then, his master had not allowed them to learn the array formations of the human race, because he was worried that if they demonized, they would understand how to break the protective array formations of the human race and cause the human race to be unable to resist Yu Ming. However, Mu Yu had gone against his master's wishes in the end. Now, his array formation skills were already outstanding in the cultivation world. If he could learn Yu Ming's 5 elements array formation, he would be able to make up for his shortcomings. Back then, he could use Mu Ling to protect Tian Ran. Then, as long as he understood the rules of the 5 elements teleportation array and amplified the effects of Mu Ling, he could teleport all the cultivators out. The teleportation array required 2 teleportation points. Since Luo Shang had already prepared the teleportation array, it meant that he had set up another teleportation point outside Isan City. "I can teach you, but do you really think those cultivators are worth saving?" Luo Shang asked. Mu Yu thought for a long time and said slowly, "At least I know one thing. If everyone in the city dies, then the soul power produced will be enormous. This is not the result you and I want to see. Even if they are attacking you, the old city lord wants to save them." Luo Shang pondered for a long time and nodded. "I understand." In the profound beast workshop, Xian Zhengtang and his family were still hugging and crying. They were overjoyed that the heaven fire on Madame Xian's hand had disappeared. For the past few months, the heaven fire had been burning on Madame Xian's hand, tormenting her day and night. In order to gather the 5 million required to buy the Taisher purple heaven pill, Xian Zhengtang had been working hard to hunt demon beasts. He was also fortunate enough to receive Mu Yu's help. However, Yuman's sudden attack caused them to fall into despair once again. When they thought that they were doomed this time, they never thought that Mu Yu would bring back a young man who directly resolved the heaven fire that couldn't be removed. Xian Sidong excitedly hugged her mother and asked, "Father, do you know how the heaven fire on Mother's hand disappeared?" Xian Zhengtang knew that this matter was definitely related to the young man that Mu Yu brought back. The young man could deal with the heaven fire with just a snap of his fingers. This ability was similar to Heaven's Stage Yu Ming. He instantly thought of many things, including the rumors of the 5 people in the cultivation world. Xian Jingtang shook his head in the face of his daughter's question and smiled. "I don't know. Maybe the heavens took pity on me." He knew what to say and what not to say. To be able to free his wife from her pain was already a great favor. However, at this moment, all kinds of noises came from outside the door. Xian Jingtang felt that something was wrong and quickly walked out. However, he discovered that Tian Ziming and the rest had returned. "Sirs, what happened?" Xian Zhengtang began to feel uneasy. Soon, he saw Gao Yixing beside Tian Ziming. Gao Yixing's eyes flickered with resentment as he fiercely glared at Xian Zhengtang. Tian Ziming coldly snorted. "Xian Zhengtang, Gao Yixing said that you are harboring criminals. The mysterious person from yesterday was the young man from your profound beast workshop. Where is he now?" Xian Jingtang was shocked and quickly said, "Sirs, that person is only a guest of my profound beast workshop. He isn't the mysterious person from yesterday." "Nonsense. Xian Zhengtang, I took good care of you in vain. I didn't expect that you would repay kindness with enmity and harbor a criminal. If you know what's good for you, quickly hand over that brat. The city lord has something to ask him." Gao Yixing gnashed his teeth and shouted. Just now, he was frightened by Mu Yu's threat to the point that he lost control of his bladder. Now, the stench on his body couldn't be dispersed. Needless to say, he was so angry in his heart that he immediately ran to Tion Zimming to complain. Great Elder, don't talk nonsense. That person is so young. How could he be the mysterious person from yesterday? You're thinking too much, Xian Zhongtang said solemnly. Thinking too much? Oomph. You're not thinking too much. Hand over that person, and the city lord will decide everything. Gao Yixing coldly snorted. Xian Jingtang panicked and said, that young master has already left. He's not here. Left? Search for me. Under Tion Zimming's command, all the cultivators aggressively rushed into every room and began to search. Soon, Xian Sidong and her father, as well as Xian Qishan, were pushed out. City Lord, that brat is not here. The cultivators, searching, loudly reported. Tion Zimming coldly walked in front of Xian Zhongtang and questioned, Speak. Where's that person? I don't know. That young master has always been elusive. I don't know his whereabouts. Facing Tion Zimming's pressure, Xian Jingtang's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. His legs were almost unsteady. You don't know? The lives of all the people in the city are in your hands. You dare to lie to me? Tion Zimming grabbed Madame Xian, who had just gotten rid of the heavenly fire. If you don't speak, not only will I capture your wife and give her to Yu Meng, your whole family won't be able to escape. Gao Yixing's eyes were sharp. He suddenly exclaimed, My lord, quickly look. The heavenly fire in this woman's hand has actually disappeared. Only now did Tion Zimming notice Madame Xian's situation. He coldly asked, 2 hours ago, you were still troubled by the heavenly fire. Why did it suddenly disappear? Madame Xian somewhat panicked and said, I don't know. The heavenly fire suddenly disappeared. Gao Yixing stood out and said flatteringly, City Lord, the aura on that brat's body was very strange. It was exactly the same as the aura on Giant Yu Meng's body yesterday. Now that the heavenly fire in this woman's hand has disappeared, if I'm not wrong, it must have been that brat who removed it, allowing this woman to escape. However, I don't think we can let this woman go so easily. Great Elder, she is your junior sister, Xian Zhongtang said angrily. Gao Yixing sneered, I'm on the side of reason, not family. Let alone my junior sister. Even if it was my wife, as long as it could save the entire city, I would be willing to let her stand out. Chapter 831. I didn't expect Elder Gao of the Burning Sea sect to be such a righteous person. Yeah, Elder Gao is willing to place righteousness above family. I really admire him. If we can escape from Yumon's hands this time, Elder Gao's contribution can't go unnoticed. Yeah, Elder Gao is a role model for our generation. Gao Yixing's ugly attitude of putting righteousness before family was praised by the other cultivators. At the same time, they felt even more hatred towards Xian Jingtang's family from the profound beast workshop. They poured their hatred towards the Yumming Devil clan onto them. Gao Yixing enjoyed listening to everyone's praise and then continued. As everyone knows, once one is infected by the heavenly fire, one can only rely on the Taisher Purple Heaven Pill to remove it. But they didn't use the Taisher Purple Heaven Pill to remove the heavenly fire. There's only one possibility. That kid must be in cahoots with Yumon. That's right. The Burning Sea sect's Great Elder is right. I didn't expect that we would be deceived by him just now. Damn it. It's all because the shopkeeper of the Profound Beast Workshop is harboring a criminal. He deserves to die. Fortunately, the Burning Sea sect's Great Elder placed righteousness above family. Otherwise, we would still be in the dark. The cultivators began to be agitated and indignant. They poured all their anger onto Xian Zhongtang's family and began to curse loudly. Kill their entire family. That's right, this kind of selfish person who disregarded our lives deserves to die. The cultivators said all kinds of ruthless words. Xian Jingtang's family had already angered everyone. The old city lord was already burning with anger. When he was about to stand up, Xian Jingtang pulled the old city lord and shook his head. Don't worry about this matter. Otherwise, you'll also be implicated. Xian Jingtang didn't want to implicate the old city lord. At this time, if the old city lord's identity was exposed, then it would undoubtedly make things worse. The old city lord would definitely be caught and killed by the furious cultivators. Capture them. I don't believe it. Find out the whereabouts of that guy. He Jinglong is definitely with him. Tian Ziming shouted. A few spirit-severing stage cultivators had already taken action and captured Xian Sitong and her mother. Let me go. Don't touch my mother. Xian Sitong shouted. Sitong. Madame Xian had just been freed from the torment of the heavenly fire and had yet to fully recover. She was no match for these people. Gao Yixing and another spirit-severing stage cultivator restrained the struggling Xian Zhengtang. In front of so many people, Xian Zhengtang's family couldn't escape at all. Gao Yixing pretended to inadvertently approach Xian Jingtang and whispered, "Old 3, don't blame me. You asked for it. Gao Yixing, you're so ruthless. I even begged that young master not to kill you." Xian Jingtang roared in grief and indignation. Gao Yixing sneered and whispered, "Third brother, you are too straightforward. You still can't see the reality. In this world, you can't be a good person. Good people can't survive in the cultivation world." Xian Jingtang was extremely angry. He was so angry that his whole body trembled, but he had no reason to refute because Gao Yixing was right. It was too difficult for good people to live in this world. Xian Jingtang had always wanted to be a person who adhered to his own principles and kept his bottom line as a person. He was an upright person, just like his name. However, in the cultivation world where strength was everything, honest and upright people would always run into a wall everywhere. They would be exploited by any treacherous person. Looking at the furious cultivators around him, he laughed bitterly in his heart. What was the point of being a good person? Gao Yixing walked to Tian Ziming's side and said with a flattering face, "My lord, my third brother is very stubborn. In front of so many people, he definitely won't say anything. Why don't you give me some time alone with him so that I can pry the whereabouts of the mysterious person from his mouth?" "Well, I'll give you a quarter of an hour. If you can't find out the whereabouts of that person and he Jinglong, I'll deal with it according to the rules." Tian Ziming nodded. "Thank you, my lord." Gao Yixing smiled obsequiously. His face was scrunched up like a puddle of mud on his face that had been stepped on by someone. It was flat and disgusting, making people feel disgusted. Gao Yixing brought Xian Zhengtang into a room alone. Seeing that there was no one around, he immediately stopped smiling and put on a pained expression. "Third brother, I've pleaded with the city lord time and time again. Don't waste my good intentions." Xian Zhengtang clenched his fists. "First elder, I beg you, for the sake of our fellow sect members, let us go. Letting your family go is just a matter of me saying a word in front of the city lord. However, you also know that the person the city lord really wants to catch is not you, but that disrespectful brat just now. As long as you tell him the whereabouts of that brat, I guarantee that the city lord will let your family go. How about it?" Xian Jingtang thought back to how Mu Yu had helped them. He bitterly smiled and shook his head. "I don't know. Even if I knew, I wouldn't say it. That young master is a good person. He's the hope of our Dongsha city and can lead us to victory against Yaman." Although Xian Jingtang understood that it was hard to be a good person in this world, he still didn't want to give up his principles. Living in this world was just to live up to his conscience. Gao Yixing's shifty eyes turned, and he stroked his sparse beard. "So, you've already admitted that the brat is the person Yaman is looking for?" Xian Zhengtang shook his head. "What you're doing is wrong." But his words were so weak. Gao Yixing laughed. "Third brother, I'm the person who knows you the best. Just now, that young master saved that old thief He Jinglong and didn't care about the lives of everyone in the city. So you definitely know where He Jinglong is, right?" Xian Jingtang thought of the old city lord who was still in the crowd outside. He panicked and shook his head. "I don't know. He's already taken the old city lord to another place. Third brother, you really don't know what's good for you." Gao Yixing sneered. He opened the door and shouted, "Bring that girl here." A bearded man roughly pulled Xian Sitong over. Xian Sitong's face was pale, but it was still filled with stubbornness. Glaring angrily at Gao Yixing, she fiercely spat at his face. Gao Yixing completely ignored Xian Sitong's angry gaze. He didn't care about anything and used his spirit energy to shake off the spit. He sneered. Xian Jingtang, I'll give you one last chance. If you don't tell me where he Jinglong and that brat are, I'll kill your daughter. Xian Jingtang said sadly. Great Elder, we're all on the same side. Why do you have to force us? Gao Yixing puffed out his chest and snorted. I'm now loyal to the Lord of Dongsha City. Naturally, I have to deal with this impartially. Disaster is upon us. Only by handing the person over to Yuman can we survive. Do you still not understand? Xian Zhengtang looked at his daughter with red eyes. He shook his head and said, It's better not to live than to live against my conscience. I don't know where they are. You don't know? Gao Yixing grabbed Xian Sitong's neck. You really don't know? No, I beg you. Don't. Xian Jingtang saw that his daughter was captured and shouted anxiously. Xian Sitong's face flushed red. She looked at her father and said, as if she was facing death, Father, you said that you want to be a righteous person. That's more important than life. Our lives were saved by him in the first place. Isn't that right? If it wasn't for Mu Yu that day, they would have been killed by the people of Xingxiang Manor in the forest. Sitong, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Xian Jingtang closed his eyes as tears flowed down his cheeks. Are you going to tell me or not? Where are he Jinglong and that person? Gao Yixing increased his strength. There was a long silence. Xian Jingtang's chest heaved up and down. The old city lord was in the courtyard. As long as he pointed out the old city lord's identity, perhaps Tian Ziming would be happy and his daughter would be saved. Their family wouldn't have to die and would even have a great merit. He could even suggest to Tian Ziming that they set a trap here and wait for that Mu Yu to return and capture him. That Mu Yu trusted him. This plan was absolutely foolproof. He was struggling in his heart. He thought of his wife, who had just escaped the torture of the heavenly fire. He thought of his daughter, who was threatened by Gao Yixing. He thought of the walls he had run into all these years. He thought of the ostracism he had received everywhere. He had been a righteous person his whole life. What did he get in return? He only needed to say one word. That one word that Tian Ziming and Gao Yixing wanted to know. That one word that could save their entire family. But Xian Zhengtang shook his head. I don't know where the old city lord and that person are. His face was as white as paper. He didn't know why he had to be a righteous person. But he stubbornly believed that there were some principles that he couldn't give up on. Those were principles that he had to follow even if he had to die. Father, we aren't ungrateful people. You are my pride. I will still be your daughter in my next life. Xian Sitong forced out a smile, but pain was written all over her face. She was almost out of breath. Gao Yixing's cultivation was much higher than hers. She couldn't use any spirit energy. Stop! The old city lord suddenly shouted. No! Xian Zhengtang and Xian Sitong shouted at the same time. If the old city lord's identity was exposed, he wouldn't be able to live for more than a quarter of an hour. The old city lord looked at Xian Zhengtang's family with determination and said, If you aren't afraid of death, then why should I be afraid of these people? No, you can't do this. Xian Zhengtang shook his head. But the old city lord had already removed the illusion array that Mu Yu had placed on his face. The method to break the illusion array was so simple. It was as simple as the old city lord's determination to die. The person you're looking for is me. The old city lord revealed his true face. His turbid eyes suddenly shot out a strange brilliance, and his old body exuded an air of arrogance. Like a dazzling sun, he disdainfully scanned the group of cowards in the courtyard. Chapter 832. Yaman hovered in the sky above Dongsha City, eyeing every movement below. One by one, the Yumings burned brightly in the sky. However, the sudden surge of enthusiasm in Dongsha City overshadowed the flames on Yaman's body. Even the Yuman in the sky paled in comparison. The entire city was cheering. The entire city was restless. The entire city was on a crusade. They had captured the old city lord and Xianzhongtang's family. They believed that the mysterious person would appear. They believed that the new city lord, Tian Ziming, would lead them to capture the mysterious person. They believed that Yaman would let them go after capturing the mysterious person. They believed that they would survive. In a small, dilapidated courtyard, two people trapped by the power of slaughter sat silently in the room. They didn't seem to hear the commotion outside. Muyu was learning the 5 elements array technique. He wanted to combine the human race's array techniques with the 5 elements teleportation array. He wanted to create a Yumeng teleportation array that could be withstood by human bodies and send all the self-cultivators away. He stubbornly wanted to follow the old city lord's wishes and save the self-cultivators that he hated. Your knowledge of array techniques is beyond my imagination, Luo Shang said thoughtfully. I'm the head of the array glyph sect. Muyu didn't hide anything. Every array technique had a certain pattern. Muyu's deduction ability was very strong. Luo Shang only explained it once, but he was already familiar with the entire 5 elements teleportation array's operating pattern. He also figured out how to add his own array techniques to the original foundation. But I still say the same thing. Many people aren't worth saving. Luo Shang sat in a chair and watched Muyu study how to modify the 5 elements teleportation array into one that could teleport self-cultivators. Although he was tired of protecting the human race, he didn't stop Muyu. I know, they aren't worth saving. Muyu was still guiding the array patterns in his hands. He was trying his best to integrate his array techniques into the 5 elements teleportation array. But the old city lord wants to save them. Muyu continued. The hustle and bustle of the city had already reached their ears, but they did not care. Since early morning, the hustle and bustle of the city had not stopped. They thought the same was true of the current clamor. Muyu stirred the 10,000-year-old greenwood and connected it with the ancient spirit flame. Now he figured out why the teleporting formation of 5 elements could not teleport human beings. Do you plan to leave this place first? Muyu asked. I'll go with you, Luo Shang said indifferently. Even though he had the power to kill, even though his personality had changed, and even though he was tired of protecting the cultivators, Luo Shang still regarded Muyu as his junior brother. Since their master was not around, they had to take care of each other. Muyu nodded. Then you must help me relocate the residents of Eastern Sand City. Luo Shang snorted, but did not reply. Muyu continued to modify the 5 elements teleportation array. Yumeng's 5 elements teleportation array could not teleport humans because the cultivators' physiques were too heterogeneous and did not meet the requirements for teleportation. The 5 elements teleportation array's requirements were either to have a physique of one of the 5 elements or to have a physique of perfect balance of the 5 elements, which was the immortal body. Muyu and Muyameng were the same. They both had an extreme wood attribute physique. Therefore, when he passed through the teleportation array, he would not be pushed aside by the teleportation array. It was the same for Luo Shang and the others. However, from the fact that he could use Mu Ling to protect Tianran back then, it could be seen that Mu Ling could temporarily cover others with its wood attribute aura so that they would not be torn apart by the 5 elements teleportation array's power. In the past, the wood spirit had been severely damaged, so it hadn't been able to completely protect tranquility. Now that the wood spirit had fully recovered, Muyu believed that it would be able to protect many people as they left safely. He began to inscribe his own array patterns and connect them with the 5 elements teleportation array. This way, after expanding, it could teleport at least 100 people at once. There are more than 100,000 cultivators in Eastern Sand City. How are you going to teleport them all away? Luo Shang asked. I'll do my best. I only know that if Yumeng massacred everyone in Eastern Sand City, that would mean that the sole power of 100,000 people would become the source of power for the 3-layered palace. Muyu replied without even raising his head. Muyu planned to connect the teleportation array to a spacious area in Eastern Sand City so that it could teleport more people at once. If you want to teleport so many people, you need an extremely powerful array base. Can your chaotic yin-yang array do that? Luo Shang asked. Muyu thought for a moment. After using the chaotic yin-yang array, I won't be able to leave if something unexpected happens. I need to borrow the power of Eastern Sand City's city defense array. Master's statue could be my array base. Muyu's idea was to set up the array base in the open space below the city gate tower. The array base would be connected to Luo Shang's teleportation array. This way, the cultivators would not need to squeeze into Luo Shang's dilapidated courtyard. They would only need to leave at the city gate. You save the people of Eastern Sand City. They won't be grateful to you, Luo Shang said. I don't need them to be grateful. Muyu said indifferently. If they survive, they should be grateful to the old city lord. However, Muyu knew that this group of people would not be grateful to the old city lord. They would not be grateful to the person who had truly helped them. They would only believe in the so-called 8 gates, the so-called 3-layered palace. I'm done. I can use my array to protect the cultivators' bodies. This way, they won't be squeezed by Yu Meng's teleportation array. Muyu had finished modifying the array. Next, he would head to the city gate tower to set up the array. Do you want to come? Muyu stood up and engraved all the array techniques onto a piece of innate array base. As long as he activated this array base in front of the city gate, he would be able to transfer the array base's array techniques to the open space at the city gate. Then he would be able to let that group of disgusting cultivators leave Eastern Sand City. Luo Shang followed behind without saying a word. His fiery red clothes had already been covered by the 5 elements array and turned gray. He looked rather inconspicuous in the crowd. The entire city was still bustling with noise, rising and falling one after another. The 2 figures quickly swept past the houses. Their speed was so fast that ordinary people would not be able to detect their existence. However, just as Muyu swept past the street, the words of a few cultivators suddenly floated into his ears. So pitiful. The profound beast workshop was destroyed just like that. How is this pitiful? They are harboring criminals. They deserve to die 10,000 times. That's right. That woman could still recover after being set on fire by the heavenly fire. She must have colluded with Hui Yumeng. They deserve it. The deaths of those people from the profound beast workshop are not regrettable. All of our lives added together are much more important than theirs. Gao Yixing's action of placing righteousness before family is truly admirable. Let's quickly go to the city gate and take a look. A few cultivators were discussing spiritedly on the roof. These words caused Muyu's heart to thump. When he heard the words profound beast workshop and heavenly fire, as well as the words Gao Yixing, he suddenly felt uneasy. He was originally going to kill Gao Yixing, but he was delayed by Luo Shang's appearance. But why would this group of people say that Gao Yixing placed righteousness before family? Muyu's heart suddenly surged with a sense of irritation. Only now did he realize that the clamor of the entire city seemed to have gathered at the eastern city gate. There were already very few cultivators on the streets. Many cultivators were rushing towards the eastern city gate. Muyu quickly passed by this group of cultivators. He swept through the air, leaving behind a mirage as he landed in the profound beast workshop. Old City Lord, Uncle Xian. Muyu landed in the courtyard and looked at the mess in the courtyard. The willow tree in the courtyard was also broken. The flowers and plants were scattered all over the ground. The living room had collapsed into a pile of ruins. Countless debris fluttered in the wind as if it had suffered a serious attack. No one responded to him. Xian Zhengtang and others were gone. What happened? Little Shuai also looked around in bewilderment, not knowing what was going on. Bang! Suddenly, 3 figures were heavily thrown to the ground. Just ask them, Wang Yao said. Luo Shang had already grabbed the 3-spirit severing stage cultivators from the corner hidden in the ruins. Muyu stared coldly at the 3 cultivators and shouted coldly, "What happened here?" The killing intent in his eyes poured directly on the 3 people like a tide. The 3-spirit severing stage cultivators were immediately scared to the ground. "Lord, please spare our lives. We were just ordered away here for you to appear and then report to the city lord. We don't know anything." A spirit severing stage cultivator with a mustache replied in a panic. When the 3 of them saw Muyu appear, They originally wanted to directly send a signal to inform Tian Ziming, but Luo Shang immediately restrained them and didn't give them any chance to make a move. Where are the people here? The killing intent covered Mu Yu's entire body. The mustache man panicked, but his eyes kept looking at the sky as if waiting for rescue. We. Kacha. The mustache man's neck had been twisted. Mu Yu's eyes flashed with a strong, killing intent. The mustache man didn't understand what Mu Yu in this statement. You say. Mu Yu pointed to the second rough man with a scar at the corner of his eye. When the scarred man saw the mustache man fall, he immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't expect Mu Yu to be so decisive in killing people. That aura was like a devil, which made him terrified. He quickly shouted, "Lord, please spare our lives." The great elder of the Burning Sea sect said that Xian Zhongtang of the Xian Beast Workshop was harboring criminals, so the city lord brought people to denounce him. However, Xian Jingtang didn't want to tell the truth, nor did he want to admit that you were the mysterious man from yesterday. He even caught the old Castellan. For the sake of the whole city, Castellan, what did he do to them? Mu Yu's voice was already trembling. Xian Jingtang was a very upright person. It was because of this integrity that made Mu Yu want to help them. The old city lord was a brave and responsible person. The old city lord wanted to save the city, so Mu Yu had to save them. They are at the city gate. Lord, it really has nothing to do with us. The scar man knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Chapter 833. With the Yu Meng demons bearing down on them, the entire Eastern Sand City had been filled with fear. However, at this moment, that fear seemed to have dissipated. Everyone's faces were filled with a strange eagerness, as if they had already seen the hope of survival. Countless self-cultivators gathered below the city gates, whispering to each other. Everyone looked at the new city lord standing on the city gates with reverence. Tian Ziming. As the new city lord, Tian Ziming is much more decisive than the old city lord. Under these circumstances, he will definitely be able to lead us to safety from Yumon's hands. Yeah, that's the kind of city lord we need. He Jinglong really doesn't deserve to be a city lord. That mysterious person will come here, right? He will definitely appear. Tian Ziming already said that he can activate the city defense array with the city lord seal. As long as that person dares to appear, the city lord will definitely capture him personally. Then, he will hand him over to Yumon, and all of our lives will be saved. The self-cultivators discussed fervently. Even though Yumon's army was outside Eastern Sand City, they still believed that Tian Ziming will be able to capture the mysterious person from yesterday and hand him over to Yumon to resolve this crisis. Everyone was waiting for the mysterious person to appear. Tian Ziming stood on the city gates, looking down at the self-cultivators below. The Burning Sea sect's elder, Gao Yixing, bowed beside him, his face full of flattery. You have done well. If Eastern Sand City survives this crisis, you will be the hero who saved Eastern Sand City. What did you say your name was again? Tian Ziming asked calmly. It was funny. Gao Yixing had done so much for him, but he didn't even remember Gao Yixing's name. Gao Yixing didn't show any dissatisfaction. Instead, he said even more respectfully, My lord, I am Gao Yixing from the Burning Sea sect. My name is not important. My lord, you have a lot of things to attend to every day. For Eastern Sand City to have my lord lead us at this time is a great blessing. You have a way with words. Tian Ziming stood with his hands behind his back, looking down at the entire Eastern Sand City. Now that everyone in the Eastern Sand City believed in him, he was like the savior of the Eastern Sand City. An indescribable sense of pride welled up in his heart. As an elder of Stargate, he didn't lack attention. Wherever he went, he was the center of attention. However, it was the first time he was treated like an emperor by 100,000 people. As for the mysterious man in the Crossing Calamity stage, Tian Ziming didn't put him in his eyes at all. In his opinion, no matter how powerful the other party was, they would be wary of Stargate and not dare to attack him. Moreover, he believed that he could capture that person with the Castellan seal this time. Tian Ziming looked at the cheering cultivators below then looked at Gao Yixing, who was bootlicking beside him, and said, I heard that the profound beast workshop belongs to your Burning Sea sect. Would you blame me for treating your Burning Sea sect's people like this? Gao Yixing immediately put on a righteous appearance and said, Sir, how could I blame you? For the sake of the lives of all the cultivators in Eastern Sand City, I am willing to bear the infamy. My junior brother's family didn't know how to appreciate favors, so they should pay the price. Very good. After this matter is over, I won't forget your contribution. Speak. What do you want as a reward? Tian Ziming said with satisfaction. Gao Yixing's small eyes suddenly flashed with a bright light. He understood that his chance had come and quickly said, Sir, this lowly one is already honored to be at your beck and call and solve your problems for you. How could I dare to ask for a reward? If I was in charge of the Burning Sea sect, the entire Burning Sea sect would be willing to go through water and tread on fire for you. It's just a pity. What's a pity? Tian Ziming asked. It's just a pity that our Burning Sea sect master is muddle-headed and tyrannical. I have the heart to cheer up the Burning Sea sect, but I'm powerless to change the current situation. Gao Yixing pretended to be distressed. What's so difficult about that? After this matter is over, I will personally make a trip to your Burning Sea sect and let you be the sect master. Don't worry. If your Burning Sea sect's muddle-headed and tyrannical sect master doesn't know how to appreciate favors, I will kill him. I can't let a talent like you be buried. Gao Yixing was overwhelmed by the favor and quickly knelt down and kowtowed to express his gratitude. Thank you for your kindness, City Lord. If this lowly one can become the sect master of the Burning Sea sect, our Burning Sea sect will definitely follow your lead and will not hesitate to die 10,000 deaths. Very good. This is exactly what I want from you. Get up, Tian Ziming said with a smile. Thank you, sir. Gao Yixing stood up respectfully, and a ruthless aura flashed across his face. He had been embezzling the offerings of the Xian Beast Workshop and other industries for so many years. The sect master had already sensed that something was wrong and was preparing to investigate this matter. He had already decided to strike first and gain the upper hand by killing the sect master and taking over the Burning Sea sect. As long as he curried favor with Tian Ziming, this Stargate's body integration stage elder, no one would dare to shake his position in the Burning Sea sect. He could even expand the Burning Sea sect. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As for Yaman in the sky, he didn't care at all because he knew that the Stargate's elder would definitely have a way to get them out of this predicament. Gao Yixing's hand rummaged through his Chinquan bag. There were a few spirit stones and jade pendants inside, which added up to more than 5 million. They were all looted from his junior brother, Xian Jingtang. They were originally used by Xian Jingtang to buy the Taisher Purple Heaven Pill, but now they were all taken by Gao Yixing. To Gao Yixing, betraying Xian Jingtang's family for these 5 million was completely worth it. Furthermore, Tian Ziming had promised to support him to become the sect master of the Burning Sea sect. Old 3, don't blame me for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not seeing the big picture. After I kill senior brother sect leader, the Burning Sea sect will be mine. Gao Yixing's gaze landed on the city gate. Looking at the 5 figures at the city gate, he sneered. In his mind, the scene of the entire Burning Sea sect, including the sect master, kneeling at his feet appeared. At some point in time, a strong wind began to blow above the city gate. It swept up a desolate wind, and the entire eastern sand city became very bleak. On the city gate, 5 figures swayed weakly in the air like 5 tattered wooden puppets. The wind blew through their clothes, making them flutter. There were 5 ropes in the air. The other end of the ropes was firmly suspended in the air, fixed by a mass of spiritual energy. The other end of the ropes was wrapped around the necks of the 5 people, and the 5 people were hung up. These 5 people's bodies were stained with blood. There was a huge bloody hole in the dantian of their abdomens. Their dantian had been ruptured, and their hearts had been pierced through by a sword. They were hanging in the air, swaying gently with the wind. There was no sign of life. They were the old city lord and Xian Jingtang's family. Because they refused to say anything about Muyu, they were cruelly killed by Tian Ziming. Their corpses were then hung above the city gate. By the time Muyu arrived, it was already too late. The old city lord's eyes were wide open. He could not close them in peace. His eyes were filled with contempt and mockery, but there was endless sorrow in the depths of his eyes. Blood dyed his white beard red and solidified on his clothes. In his chest, there was a determination to bravely kill Yaman, but at this moment, it had been shattered by the sword and could no longer beat. Xian Zhongtang closed his eyes. His expression was very resolute and sorrowful. He was unable to protect his wife and daughter. In order to protect the kindness in his heart, he chose to keep his mouth shut. Thus, Eastern Sand City could no longer tolerate his family. Muyu stared blankly at the corpses of the old city lord, Xian Zhongtang, and his family in midair. It was as if the entire world had collapsed, and endless darkness swept towards him. Dead? The old city lord had died, just like that? Xian Zhongtang and his family had died, just like that. His heart that was originally filled with killing intent suddenly became incomparably irritable. His entire body was trembling nonstop. An array pattern flashed under his feet, and he took a step forward. In the blink of an eye, he was beside the old city lord and Xian Zhongtang's family. The crowd was in an uproar because the person they had been waiting for had finally appeared. It's him. Burning C-Sex Gao Yixing immediately said flatteringly. He's finally here. Tian Ziming's eyes also lit up. Muyu silently untied the ropes around the old city lord and Xian Zhongtang's necks. Anger burned in his heart. It was so vigorous that it seemed to burn through his entire body, causing all the blood in his body to boil. The corpses of Xian Zhongtang and his family floated in front of Muyu. They had died miserably. Their cultivation had been destroyed, and their hearts had been pierced. Looking at the old city lord, Xian Zhongtang, and the rest's blood-clotted chests, Muyu could no longer remain calm. There was originally a righteous heart that had not forgotten its roots and was filled with blood. It was the last dignity of the human race. However, the dignity of the human race was ultimately trampled into pieces by a group of cowards. The cowards had no dignity, so they would not allow the old city lord and Xian Zhongtang's family to have any dignity. Yesterday, Muyu had asked Xian Zhongtang's family what Yaman meant to them. Xian Zhongtang had said, as a cultivator, even if they were to die, they had to die on the battlefield with Yaman. Xian Zhongtang's family was filled with blood, but in the end, they did not die at the hands of Yaman. Instead, they died at the hands of cowardly cultivators. They died at the hands of a group of cowards who had forgotten the blood that cultivators should have. In the morning, the old city lord had asked Muyu what Yaman meant to him. Muyu had said, since he was young, he had wanted to protect the human race. This was because Grandpa Village Chief had always told him that the Great Master Immortal existed to eliminate Yaman. Did the Great Master Immortal exist to eliminate Yaman? If the Master Immortal existed to eliminate Yaman, then what were the cultivators in Dongsha City doing? When facing Yaman, they would first eliminate those who dared to fight Yaman to the death. Then, they would curry favor with Yaman and let others die in their place. These were the cultivators he had spent so much effort to save. They did not have the courage to kill their enemies, but they had the determination to harm their own people. Muyu's blood was boiling and boiling. It was as if a ferocious beast was about to break free from his body. Old mister, you said that you can't make the decision for me. Yes, you really shouldn't make the decision for me. Muyu stretched out his hand and gently stroked the old city lord's eyes, slowly letting him close his eyes. This time, I want to make the decision for myself. Chapter 834. The wind in Dongsha City blew fiercely. When it blew on one's face, it was as painful as a knife. Righteous people would always be persecuted by treacherous and cunning people. Was it really very difficult to be a righteous person in the cultivation world? Why did the good people in this world get hurt while the bad people could run rampant? Muyu kept asking himself this question. He couldn't understand. He really couldn't understand. Xianzhengtang's righteousness was the balance that Mu Yu used to suppress his desire to kill when he was plagued by the murderous energy. But this balance had already disappeared. The old city lord's righteousness was the wise person who made the right choice for Mu Yu when he was confused by the murderous energy. But this wise person had also left. So why did he care so much about right and wrong? In this world, right and wrong were relative. If it was right to let the 100,000 cowardly people of Dongsha City survive, then why was it wrong to let the Yumming demons slaughter the 100,000 selfish people? Mu Yu gently supported the old city lord and the others, smoothing out their wrinkled clothes. Luo Shang and little Shuai stood to the side, both of them silent. The murderous energy in Mu Yu's body was tumbling. His entire person was like the exit of hell, wanting to release the murderous energy from hell to destroy this city. Little Shuai hesitantly stretched out his little hand, wanting to place it on Mu Yu's shoulder. But his little hand stopped in midair. This time, he didn't know if he should stop the murderous energy in Mu Yu's body from going berserk. Luo Shang looked at the corpses of the old city lord and the others. His expression was very calm, and his gaze was unperturbed. He had already expected all of this. He knew that being a good person in the cultivation world would not have a good ending. So he told Mu Yu that he was tired of it. But the murderous energy in Luo Shang's body was also tumbling. He at least understood one thing. If those who deserve to live died, then those who deserve to die should not live. Mu Yu put Xian Zhengtang and Madame Xian together, letting them hold each other tightly. In order to get rid of Yuman's heavenly fire for his wife, Xian Zhengtang almost went bankrupt. But even so, when he met Mu Yu for the first time, he did not go against his conscience to deceive Mu Yu. In the face of benefits, he stood by his principles. He placed Xian Xidong's and Qi Shan's hands together. He didn't know if Qi Shan had told his senior sister that he liked her in the end. He also didn't know if Sidong had told Qi Shan that the person she liked was also Qi Shan. He brushed away the blood on the old city lord's white beard and cleaned up the bloodstains. The two sons of the old city lord were killed by the Yu Meng devils when they went to investigate the whereabouts of the Yu Meng devils. The old city lord wanted to lead the entire city to kill the Yu Meng devils, but the entire city was afraid of death. They abandoned him and even killed him. What was the difference between humans and Yu Meng? Mu Yu didn't know. He couldn't figure it out. His gaze fell on these self-cultivators, and the killing energy in his body suddenly retracted. He slowly stood up and looked at Tian Ziming and the other body integration stage self-cultivators who had already surrounded him. His mind became incomparably calm. It was as if, in an instant, he could freely retract the killing energy in his body. Mu Yu had always rejected the killing energy. This time, he wanted to accept it. He's here. That mysterious man is here. Is it him? Is he really the mysterious man from yesterday? I don't know. According to the Burning Sea Sect's Great Elder, he is. Capture him. Let Yaman deal with him. That's right. Capture him. The self-cultivators had been waiting for Mu Yu to appear. When they saw Mu Yu appear next to the corpses of Xian Zhengtang's family, they immediately became noisy. They all began to clamor for Tian Ziming to capture Mu Yu and hand him over to Yuman to appease Yuman's anger and save the city's residents. Tian Ziming had already leapt high up from the city gate tower. He led 20 body integration stage self-cultivators and instantly surrounded Mu Yu. Dongsha City had a total of 32 body integration stage self-cultivators. Including Tian Ziming, 21 of them had come. The remaining 20 all supported Tian Ziming's decision to make him the new city lord. You're the person Yuman wants? Tian Ziming looked down at Mu Yu loftily and asked in a righteous voice. He was the new city lord of Dongsha City. He needed to protect his own dignity. He had 20 body integration stage self-cultivators by his side. He had the city lord's seal in his hand. He was also a Stargate's body integration stage elder. He was very confident and wasn't worried about Mu Yu. He believed that Mu Yu wouldn't dare to make an enemy of the entire Dongsha City, the 8 gates, and the entire cultivation world. Why did you kill them? Mu Yu's voice was surprisingly calm. It was as if he was asking a simple question. Tian Ziming sneered. Jinglong disregarded the lives of the entire Dongsha city. He deserved to die. The Xian Jingtang family of the Xian Beast Workshop shielded you, the main culprit, and put the entire Dongsha city's residents in danger. As the current city lord of Dongsha City, I need to protect the safety of all the residents of Dongsha City. Do you want to surrender and let me personally hand you over to Yaman? Or do you want us to capture you and hand you over to Yaman? Tian Ziming had just become the new city lord of Dongsha City. He needed to use swift and decisive methods to establish his own prestige. The lives of Xian Zhengtang's family and the old city lord's 5 people were used as a warning to others. He was using them to force Mu Yu to show himself. To him, the lives of 4 small sects weren't worth mentioning. The old city lord of a city was even more insignificant. Do you really think Yaman will let you go after you hand me over? Mu Yu's voice became colder with every word he spoke. The power of slaughter spread throughout his body. In the past, Mu Yu had always controlled himself and didn't allow the power of slaughter to invade his body. But today, he discovered that accepting the power of slaughter was as natural as water flowing through a canal. This power was like an innate ability. Once he completely accepted it, he naturally understood how to make the power of slaughter even more powerful. Yaman wants you, not everyone in Dongsha City. As long as you surrender yourself, Yaman will definitely choose to withdraw his troops. Tian Ziming reprimanded. Mu Yu raised his head and coldly looked at Tian Ziming. Humans and Yaman have always been enemies. Do you really think that compromising will give you a chance to live? Tian Ziming's face twisted. That's right. As long as we hand you over to Yaman, we can live. Mu Yu coldly and mockingly looked at Tian Ziming. Tian Ziming's voice was powerful. Yaman's attack this time was too sudden. We were caught off guard. It's not that we didn't want to fight, but that we were powerless. Right now, only by sacrificing yourself can you save the lives of everyone in the city. This is your honor. You should sacrifice yourself for everyone. That's right. Your death can protect all of us. No matter what, you should make the sacrifice. That's right. You won't die in vain. You will live on in all of our hearts. We will live on in your place. In the future, we will destroy Yaman together with all of the extreme immortals to avenge you. This is your honor. You should accept it. The cultivators below the city gates all began to shout loudly. They were all asking Mu Yu to sacrifice himself and go to Yaman's place to die so that he could save all of the cultivators in Dongsha City. Their words were spoken in a righteous and awe-inspiring manner, and all kinds of ugly words were on display here. You want me to die first, and then you'll live on in my place to avenge me? Mu Yu suddenly laughed, as if he had heard a joke. But his laughter was so cold that it pierced everyone's eardrums like icicles. The cultivators present felt as if their eardrums had been doused with ice water, causing them to tremble uncontrollably. Tian Ziming said solemnly, "Don't worry. After Yaman kills you and spares all of Dongsha City's residents, we will sing praises of you and erect your statue next to the true God. You will enjoy the same treatment as the true God and be revered by tens of thousands of people." Back then, the true God sacrificed himself to save the entire human race. You should learn from the true God. Tian Ziming had everyone block off Mu Yu's path of retreat, but he didn't immediately attack Mu Yu. This was because he wanted to persuade Mu Yu and let Mu Yu choose to die. This was to demonstrate his wise leadership as the city lord. He didn't need to rely on force to save the lives of the entire Dongsha City. He was loved and respected by all of Dongsha City's residents. This was the perfect city lord. Sing praises of me and erect it next to the true God's statue. Mu Yu turned his head to look at the handsome statue of his master on the city gate tower and smiled again. His smile was very peaceful and bright. It was as if all of his killing intent had disappeared in an instant, and he had returned to his original self. When facing people he respected, he would always reveal his most essential side. His killing intent and anger were reserved for outsiders, not for his own people. "Master, is this the human you want to protect? If so, then please forgive me." Mu Yu shifted his gaze away from his master's statue. His killing intent returned to him. The icy aura came back so quickly that even he didn't understand why he could control his emotions so easily. It was as if accepting the power of killing had made him more complete. He had always wanted to walk the same path as his master. Even when Luo Shang had told him the truth about Yumon's attack on Dongsha City, he had been working hard on researching teleportation arrays. He wanted to save the residents of Dongsha City from the abyss of suffering. He didn't want to receive the gratitude of all of Dongsha City's residents. He only wanted to save the lives of the entire city and prevent them from being killed by Yumon. He wanted them to become the source of power for the Threefold Palace. Because the old city lord wanted to save these people. He believed that the old city lord would make the same decision as his master. That was why he wanted to save these people. But the old city lord was dead. This time, he wanted to walk his own path. Hurry up and surrender. Yumon is already running out of patience. The sooner you leave, the sooner we'll be out of danger. That's right. Don't resist. No matter how high your cultivation is, you won't be able to fight against all of us Dongsha City's self-cultivators. These ignorant self-cultivators were so righteous and impassioned. They all believed that only by handing over Mu Yu would they be able to appease Yumon's anger. But they didn't know that even if Mu Yu and Luo Shang didn't show up, Dongsha City would become Yumon's target in a few days. It would become part of his killing force. Yumon wouldn't retreat just because he wanted to capture Mu Yu. Their goal was to kill. Mu Yu could have saved them. He had even completed the teleportation array and was prepared to teleport this group of people away from Eastern Sand City. But these cowards had trusted the wrong person. They didn't believe in the person who could save them. They believed in Tian Zimming, who would push them to their doom. Mu Yu slowly opened her mouth and said, "So all of you think we should compromise with Yu Meng? All of you think I should go out and die? None of you think we should fight Yu Meng to the end?" Mu Yu's voice wasn't loud, but it clearly spread throughout the entire Dongsha City. Everyone in Dongsha City was alarmed. Many people rushed over to the city gates. More and more self-cultivators gathered below the city gates. They were all watching Mu Yu, the key person Yumon wanted to capture. Mu Yu continued, "Let me see how many brave people there are in Dongsha City. If you think we should fight Yu Meng to the end and shed blood for him, then step forward. Step forward. Step forward and let me see." He was used to being a good person. He wanted to find a reason to continue being a good person. He wanted to know if there was anyone in Dongsha City who was as brave as the old city lord. The crowd fell silent. They pushed and shoved each other. They all looked at the man who was like a primordial beast in shock. More than 100,000 people in the air, on the ground, on the rooftops, and on the streets. They all looked at Mu Yu from afar. The air seemed to have fallen silent for a moment. "None of you have the determination to fight Yu Meng? Do you all think we should compromise with Yu Meng?" Mu Yu didn't seem surprised at all, but the beast in his body was about to break free from its chains. He suddenly recalled the time when he was still in the Moyun mountain range. The first time he met Mu Yameng in the Fulong mountain range was the old tree elder of the demon race. Mu Yu still remembered what old tree elder said at that time. "I'm telling you all this because I hope that when we Yumon go to war with the humans in the future, when you choose to help them, you will consider whether standing on their side is the right thing to do." At that time, the young Mu Yu had told Old Tree Elder righteously that he was a human and that he would stand on the side of the humans. But people would always grow up. Growing up was a process of constantly overturning one's childish past self. Old Tree Elder, did you predict all of this long ago? Mu Yu silently raised his head and looked at the Yumon in the air. He was glaring at them from outside the city's protective array. He couldn't wait to charge into Dongsha City and turn it into a living hell. He wanted to turn it into the killing power of their priests. So what if he was a human? So what if he was Yumon? What was justice? What was evil? Could it be that these selfish and cowardly cultivators who spoke of benevolence and righteousness represented justice? If this was justice... Chapter 835. Mu Yu's words reverberated throughout Dongsha City, reaching everyone's ears. All the cultivators looked at Mu Yu. Many of them were intimidated by Mu Yu's aura, but no one stepped forward. Tian Zimming laughed loudly. You don't have to waste your time. This is the will of the people. I think you should surrender yourself. Everyone wants you to sacrifice yourself to save Dongsha City. No one wants to throw their lives away for nothing. No, I think we should fight Yumon. Just then, a middle-aged man in a blue shirt stepped forward. This was a cultivator with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He flew behind Muyu with a solemn expression and faced everyone together with Muyu. Anyone who dared to step forward at a time like this was undoubtedly very courageous. Tian Zimming's eyes turned cold. He hadn't expected that someone would dare to oppose him at a time like this. He looked coldly at the middle-aged man in blue, as if he was looking at a dead man. I think so too. However, after the middle-aged man in blue stepped forward, another young man stood behind Muyu. And me. We can't compromise with Yumon. A young girl in red also stepped forward. An old man with a resolute expression stepped forward. A stern-looking young man stepped forward, but after a quarter of an hour, there were only 20 cultivators who stood out and believed that they should fight against the Yumming Devils. In a city of more than 100,000 people, only 20 people thought that they should fight Yumon. The rest wanted to sacrifice Muyu to Yumon in exchange for a chance at survival. They had no fighting spirit at all. Tian Zimming laughed loudly again. You 20 people can't wait to throw your lives away. Can you? Fine, I'll fulfill your wishes. But the 20 people were unmoved. The middle-aged man in blue looked at Tian Zimming and said, Yumon won't let us humans go. Compromising is the stupidest thing to do. I think your choice is the stupidest one. Gao Yixing shouted from beside Tian Zimming like a villain who had the upper hand. Muyu coldly glanced at Gao Yixing. Gao Yixing immediately shrank behind Tian Zimming in fear. Who else? Muyu continued to ask. I want to fight Yumon too. A timid voice sounded from a crowd. It came from a little boy who looked to be only 2 years old. His young and tender face was filled with courage that the adults did not have. He clenched his little fists and was so determined. Don't talk nonsense, Xiao Fan. The little boy's father hurriedly reprimanded. But father, didn't you always tell me stories about how the Yumon is an evil race that specializes in dealing with us? That's why you want me to become a great immortal master in the future and defeat the Yumon? Then why are all the immortal masters so afraid of the Yumon and not willing to fight against the Yumon together? Why do they all want to compromise with the Yumon? The little boy asked, puzzled. His voice was very childish and soft, but everyone present was a cultivator. Everyone heard him loud and clear. The child's father was only a mortal. At this moment, he was stammering, not knowing how to answer his son's question. He was just a mortal who lived at the bottom of the Eastern Sand City. The people who came and went in the Eastern Sand City were all cultivators. However, the cultivators couldn't do everything personally. They would send some mortals to serve the cultivators as their servants. He was just a waiter in a restaurant. He had no cultivation and faced those high and mighty cultivators all day long. He did not dare to slack off in the slightest, as he was very worried that he would be killed if he neglected the cultivators. But when he returned home, he would proudly tell his son how amazing the immortal masters were. The immortal masters were the hope of the entire human race and could fight against the Yumon. He would often tell his son that he was proud to be able to serve the immortal masters. He hoped that his son would grow up to be a respected immortal master who could fight against the Yumon. But at this moment, when the Yumon suddenly descended, all the immortal masters were afraid. They did not dare to fight against the Yumon. They only thought of how to hand over the person the Yumon wanted and hand them over to the Yumon. These immortal masters only wanted to live and did not have any thoughts of fighting against the Yumon. This was different from the immortal masters he told his son about who fought against the Yumon. Those immortal masters who were fearless and dared to fight against the Yumon were all living in stories. He looked at the others anxiously and hugged his son tightly, not allowing him to speak. He was afraid that he would anger those high and mighty cultivators and bring death upon himself. But his son did not dispel the doubts in his heart. Dad, are you lying to me? Are all the legends about the immortal masters fake? He said that the immortal masters were all brave warriors who could kill the Yumon. But now, they're all afraid of death. They are all afraid of the Yumon and do not dare to fight. They are completely different from the immortal masters in your stories. You told me to work hard to become an immortal master when I grow up, but I don't want to become such an immortal master. The little boy's expression was very serious. As though the little boy's words had exposed a lie, the crowd was in an uproar. All the cultivators felt uncomfortable. But still, no cultivator wanted to step forward. At this moment, the person Yumon wanted had already appeared. As long as that person was handed over to the Yumon, Dongsha City would be out of danger. Who would be stupid enough to fight to the death with the Yumon when there was a great chance of survival? Dad, I must fight against the Yumon. The little boy continued. Shut up. A ferocious-looking cultivator scolded from his side. The aura of a nascent soul cultivator fell on the little boy, who was so frightened that he hurriedly hugged his father. His father clenched his teeth and recalled the stories he had told his son before. The immortal masters existed for the sake of the Yumon. But today, all the immortal masters wanted to compromise with the Yumon in order to protect themselves. His face was full of shame, but he hesitated. Even the immortal masters were afraid of the Yumon. What power did a mere mortal like him have to change all this? The child's mother seemed to have made up her mind about something. She said loudly, Our family must fight against the Yumon. My wife, husband, we must set an example for the child. I don't think the Yumon will let us go. Rather than that, why not fight? The child's mother said firmly. The child's father's face paled. He remembered that his son liked to pester him to tell stories about the immortal masters and the Yumon. In his father's stories, the immortal masters were omnipotent. They broke cliffs with a wave of their sleeves and defeated the Yumon under the leadership of a true god, protecting the human race. His son had always admired the immortal masters and wanted to quickly grow up to become an immortal master to fight against the Yumon. The child's father clenched his teeth. He didn't know where his courage came from, but he suddenly shouted, That's right. Our family must fight against the Yumon. Our family? You don't even have cultivation. How are you going to fight against the Yumon? A woman scolded from his side. Do you want to die? Ignorant mortals. Another man glared at them. The child's father was so scared that he shrank into a corner. He hugged his son and wife, unable to speak. Muyu looked at the little boy. He remembered what the village head's grandfather said to him when he left Flowing Water Village. The great immortal masters existed to fight against the Yumon. Therefore, they had to become great immortal masters and protect the human race. But now, the so-called immortal masters were afraid of death. Instead, it was a family of 3 with no cultivation that wanted to fight against the Yumon. We're not ignorant. I'm telling the truth. The little boy said loudly despite his fear. Mortals are noisy. Those who speak the truth die quickly. Another man flew into a rage out of humiliation. He stabbed his sword at the family of 3. To them, mortals were no different from low-level demon beasts. Once they killed them, they would have peace. Muyu's gaze was as sharp as a knife, but Luo Shang had already appeared before him and landed beside the little boy's family. With a wave of his hand, the man's sword suddenly involuntarily turned and pierced into the man's dantian. You dare. The man who stabbed the sword howled in pain as he fell to the ground. He had lost all his cultivation and had become immortal. Do you still look down on mortals? Luo Shang emitted a powerful aura. He coldly scanned the self-cultivators who wanted to attack. They were all frightened by Luo Shang's aura and didn't dare to stop him. Luo Shang swept up the family of 3 and brought them to Muyu's side. Little brother, what's your name? Little Shuai blinked curiously as he walked in front of the little boy. He looked like he was only 4 or 5 years old, but he was a head taller than the little boy. Big brother, my name is Qing Fan. Big brother, are you also going to fight against the Yumon? The little boy asked. Little Shuai tilted his head and thought for a while. He looked at Muyu and then nodded. Big brother, are you going to fight against the Yumon too? The little boy looked at Luo Shang. Luo Shang looked at the little boy's clear eyes and was startled. He looked to the side and didn't answer. Big brother, I also want to fight against the Yumon. I don't want you to be sent to the Yumon's side." The little boy shouted at Muyu. Muyu looked at the little boy's innocent smile. It was as if he saw himself in the past. He wanted to let those who deserved to live live. As for the others, there was nothing he could do. In the entire city, there were more than 100,000 people. Only 23 of them were willing to fight against the Yumon. 3 of them were mortals without any cultivation. The remaining immortal masters were all afraid of death. They only wanted to protect themselves. Muyu slowly landed in front of the true god statue at the city gate. He knelt down in front of his master's statue. "Master, you said that the 5 of us would protect the human race and end this war. I always thought that the self-cultivators could still be saved. They were only blinded by the Triple Palace. That's why I was willing to continue protecting the self-cultivators on your behalf. But I didn't think that they would be so afraid of death and have no fighting spirit. You were full of hope for the human race. I also try to be full of hope for them. But I was wrong. I don't know why you sacrificed yourself in the first place. Was it for this bunch of selfish people? Can they really still be saved? You kept the Triple Palace free from the Yumon's invasion for more than 100 years. But because of that, they've gotten used to living a comfortable life. They've lost their fighting spirit against the Yumon. They only want to drag out an ignoble existence and let others die for them. They compromised with the Yumon in the hope that the Yumon would be merciful and let them go. Senior brother Xiang, Nan wanted to control the self-cultivators to fight against the Triple Palace. I thought he was wrong because it went against your original intentions. That's why I acted to teach those who were possessed by the demon's soul a lesson. But now I realize that Xiang, Nan didn't do anything wrong. I really want to help you complete the great task of protecting the human race. But if they don't want to fight back, why should I help them? I helped them yesterday. I don't need them to shed tears of gratitude. Even if they want to compromise with the Yumon, I think I should use the teleportation array to save their lives. With the power to kill, I'm afraid that any decision I make will be wrong. So I used Uncle Xian's family as the standard to judge if I'm a good person. I asked the old city lord to help me decide if I should save the people of this city. But they killed Uncle Xian's family and the old city lord. I'm sorry, I can't forgive them. I can't go against my conscience to save them. I can't watch the righteous die while the cowardly and selfish live. I can't. The only people I can save are these 23 people. Muyu raised his head and looked at his master's elegant and carefree appearance. He used to be a true god who commanded the world and saved the people from calamity. Master, it's too tiring to be a good person in this world. I want to be a bad person. Master, Luo Shang said he's tired of it. Master, I'm tired of it too. Master, I'm sorry. Muyu buried his head deep in the foot of his master's statue and heavily kowtowed 3 times. A drop of tear slowly dripped from the corner of his eyes and fell on the clothes of his master's statue. He slowly stood up. The shadow clone sword had already landed in his hand. Immediately, it transformed into a black and white flying sword. A terrifying aura of slaughter once again burst forth from his body, soaring into the sky and enveloping everyone. Every single cultivator in the Eastern Sand City was shocked and bewildered as they retreated a few dozen steps. The 23 of you may leave Dongsha City. Muyu seemed to be passing down a life and death sentence. An innate array foundation appeared in his hand, and the runes of the teleportation array suddenly covered the 23 people. Before the 23 people could react, there was a flash of light, and they disappeared. What's going on? Where are they? It's a teleportation array. Did they leave Dongsha City? If you had a teleportation array, why didn't you take it out earlier? Are you trying to kill us? You really are Yumon's spy. All the self-cultivators roared angrily. Many of them were bewildered, and many of them even began to regret not standing up earlier. But those who stood up earlier had the courage to fight Yumon to the death. These people did not. As for you all, you deserve to die. Muyu's clear voice resounded in everyone's ears. The tear that had landed on the true god statue's robe transformed into a biting cold killing intent and sank into the statue. Kacha! A soft sound clearly came from the true god statue. Cracks began to spread from the true god statue's robe to the rest of its body. Boom! The statue of the true god exploded with a loud bang, exploding into thousands of pieces. The entire Dongsha city shook violently. The City Protection Array Foundation lost its array foundation and immediately began to collapse. Countless array runes fell from the sky. The sky seemed to have been sliced apart by something. The transparent protective barrier shattered into pieces. It was a ghastly sight. If you all represent justice, then I'd rather join the dark side. Chapter 836. The City Defense Array used the statue of a true god as its foundation. Once the statue of a true god was destroyed, the City Defense Array would be destroyed. The Human in the sky saw that the City Defense Array had been destroyed. Immediately, they roared and let out strange cries. Like hungry wolves, they pounced on the panicked sheep on the grassland and began to enjoy the feast of slaughter. Countless flames, countless boulders, and countless pieces of metal smashed towards all the self-cultivators in Eastern Sand City. The flames instantly ignited the trees in the city, ignited the clothes, ignited the weeds, and ignited the self-cultivators who did not have time to react. In an instant, the streets were turned into a sea of fire. The stone slabs on the ground began to roll up piece by piece. All the houses were destroyed in an instant. Sand flew into the air, and huge boulders flipped, burying all the self-cultivators on the streets who did not manage to dodge in time. Many self-cultivators with high cultivation levels had already leaped into the sky. However, what greeted them were countless sharp metal blades that flashed coldly in the air. They tore through the air and pierced through the bodies of the self-cultivators, cutting them into countless pieces. However, before their corpses fell to the ground, they were already ignited by the flames in the air and smashed apart by the rubble. No, I want to live. Save us. Lord City Lord, save us. You yumming demons should go kill that fiend. He's the one you want. We're just innocent victims. You devil, quickly use the teleportation array to save us. I am an elder of the Xianling sect. If I die, you'll be hunted down by the Xianling sect forever. All sorts of laughable voices reverberated throughout Eastern Sand City for a long time. They would never understand just how ugly their own faces were. Right now, they were still thinking of asking Tian Zimming, the city lord, to save them. Right now, they were still thinking of asking the Yu Meng demon clan to kill Mu Yu and let them go. Right now, they were still thinking that their identities as righteous sects would allow them to live. However, they could only think about it. Terrified screams resounded throughout the entire Eastern Sand City. The self-cultivators fled in all directions. It was a mess. Most of them were squeezed at the city gates. As they fled, they bumped into each other. A fireball fell and turned the city into a sea of hellfire. As for the castellan that they trusted and respected, he was already rushing towards the place where Yuman was not. His cultivation was the highest, and his speed was also the fastest. However, before he could escape, Mu Yu blocked his path with a biting cold, killing intent. All the body integration stage cultivators who wanted to kill him were trapped by Mu Yu's formation, and all the severed soul stage cultivators were blocked by Luo Shang. Little Shuai stood silently beside the corpses of the old city lord and the others, looking at Mu Yu and Luo Shang, who were surrounded by killing intent. Gao Yixing was terrified. He was choked by Mu Yu. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. I'm now the leader of the Burning Sea sect. We're affiliated with Stargate. You, Gao Yixing shouted. He wanted to struggle, but Mu Yu's sword had already pierced into his dantian. Mu Yu's face was expressionless. A lot of people from Stargate had died in his hands. Sooner or later, he would go and destroy this malignant tumor of Stargate. Gao Yixing's aura had already withered. He let out an inhuman scream. His scream was miserable, like a dead dog. He was casually thrown to the ground by Mu Yu. Don't kill me. I beg you. I beg you. Gao Yixing covered his abdomen and kept crawling. Mu Yu's arm had already reached out, and broke through Gao Yixing's chest. Gao Yixing's body was like a piece of paper, unable to block Muyu's hand. Muyu held Gao Yixing's heart, that filthy heart. The heart of the old city lord and Xianzhongtang should be the most worthy to continue beating, not you. Muyu was like a demon as he looked at the terrified Gao Yixing. Gao Yixing's heart had already been plucked out by Muyu and was beating in Muyu's hand. Gao Yixing's eyes were wide open. He looked down at his empty chest and then looked up at the heart in Muyu's hand. You are a demon. Gao Yixing spat out these words, and the expression on his face gradually froze. Until now, he still did not understand what kind of person he had offended. His head drooped down, but a sword light flashed, and his head rolled to the ground. Muyu stepped on it. Muyu turned his head and looked at Tian Ziming, who was tightly bound by the runes. Tian Ziming was completely frightened. Gao Yixing's death caused his entire body to go limp. His eyes were filled with despair. Yes, I'm a demon. Muyu's hand trembled, and Gao Yixing's heart turned into a rain of blood. It sprinkled on Tian Ziming's body and dyed him red. Gao Yixing's blood dripped on Tian Ziming's face. Tian Ziming was completely scared out of his wits. He no longer had the arrogant and righteous attitude he had before. But I was originally an innocent demon, and you are filthy demons. Muyu's green robes were spotless. He would not let the filthy blood splash on his body. Who are you? Tian Ziming asked with a trembling voice. The sword light slashed out. Tian Ziming's dantian had already been destroyed. He let out a heart-wrenching scream that resounded throughout the entire Eastern Sand City. It was so ear-piercing that it even drowned out the whistling of the blazing rocks. You destroyed my cultivation. Our Stargate will definitely make you pay a painful price. We will make you unable to reincarnate for all eternity. Tian Ziming's face was filled with hatred, resentment, and fear. I wonder if your young master has reincarnated. Muyu's hand shot out like lightning. Tian Ziming's heart was already in Muyu's hand. You don't tell me you're... Tian Ziming stared at Muyu in fear. He had already guessed Muyu's identity. Your heart is not worthy of beating. Muyu crushed Tian Ziming's heart again. Fresh blood sprinkled on Tian Ziming's body. Tian Ziming did not finish his sentence. His last memory was a sea of blood and a green-robed man filled with killing intent. The emerald green branch whistled through the air and pierced through Tian Ziming's body. With a slight tremble, the branch tore Tian Ziming's body apart, turning him into a rain of blood. His life essence and soul power were all devoured by Mu Ling. But now, I'm no longer an innocent demon. Muyu looked back at the old city lord and Xianzhongtang's family. Their dantian was destroyed, and their hearts were pierced. Muyu was using the same method to take revenge for them. He did not feel the joy of revenge, only a deep sorrow. This sorrow spread in his heart, filled with killing intent. It was so abrupt, as if his calm heart suddenly had emotions. I'm sorry. I have the ability to kill everyone in the city, but I can't protect you. He tried his best. He always wanted to protect the old city lord and Xianzhongtang's family and let them live. However, he could not stay by their side forever. As long as he left, something would definitely happen. He understood that the most effective way to protect good people was to kill evil people. He wanted the whole city to be buried with the old city lord and Xianzhongtang's family. Mu Ling turned into countless branches and swept up, entangling all the body integration stage cultivators who were supporting Tian Ziming. Puchi, Puchi, Puchi. The branches pierced the dantian of these cultivators like sharp blades and pierced through their hearts. Muyu would kill them in the same way they killed the old city lord and Xianzhongtang's family. The faces of these body integration stage cultivators were filled with fear. Unwilling to give up, they tried to break free and escape from Dongsha City. However, they could not escape. None of them could. In front of Muyu, none of these selfish and ungrateful cowards could escape. Shua, countless branches and vines broke out of the cocoons on these people's bodies. They broke out of their mouths, their eye sockets, their ears, and their skin joints. It was as if they had been parasitized by the trees. Their skin and flesh shriveled up, and their skin was torn apart by the branches, but no blood flowed out. The people who had been parasitized by the trees suddenly moved. They were like nimble tree ants in eastern Sand City as they pounced on the fleeing cultivators. Once a cultivator was entangled by the branches, the sharp branches would immediately invade their bodies and suck away their flesh and blood. They would also suck away their spiritual energy, turning them into tree ants and continuing to pounce on the next cultivator. Like a sudden outbreak of a virus, the terrifying branches extended rapidly from the center of the city gate like tentacles. Emerald green leaves drifted in the air. Even the flames, boulders, and golden rays could not destroy these plants. These plants exuded a cold, murderous aura as they reaped one life after another. Every cultivator's dantian was destroyed, every filthy heart was shattered, and every soul's soul energy was sucked away by the trees. The Huiyu Meng Devil Clan, the Jinyu Meng Devil Clan, and the Tuyu Meng Devil Clan had all invaded Dongsha City and were wantonly slaughtering people. The setting sun was as red as blood, illuminating the mess in eastern Sand City. It also shone on Muyu's body, casting a long shadow on Muyu. Muyu walked through the streets as if there was no one there. He watched as the cultivators who had been set ablaze rolled on the ground, trying to extinguish the flames. However, boulders instantly crushed them, and golden blades cut them into countless pieces. "Save me, I beg you. Save me. Use the transmission array to send me out. I have no intention of killing you, I swear." A young man dragged half of his body as he slowly crawled beside Muyu. His body had been ruthlessly chopped off by himself because the heavenly fire had set his leg on fire. He had no way of extinguishing the heavenly fire, but even though he had chopped off his leg, the heavenly fire continued to burn around his wound. His left arm was also missing. It had been smashed into a bloody mess by a boulder. He crawled on the ground like a dirty, pitiful dog, forgetting that he was one of the loudest people in the crusade against Muyu. He wanted to use his right arm to grab onto Muyu's clothes, begging Muyu to save his lowly life. But Muyu ignored him. The tree branches drilled out from the ground, piercing through the young man's heart and dantian. "You could have saved your own life." Muyu looked up at the sky. The setting sun dyed the sunset red, as if the clouds in the sky were about to ignite, revealing a demonic beauty. Chapter 837. Walking on the streets and bathing in the setting sun, Muyu's heart was incomparably calm. It was as if he was enjoying a magnificent elegy. The brilliant rays of light were like fireworks, so poignant and beautiful. 5 brand new coffins floated behind him. The coffins were connected by tree branches, like a strange tree. Inside them lay the 5 people that Muyu wanted to protect. They seemed to be patrolling the entire Azura battlefield, watching the pathetic fate of these cowards. Countless self-cultivators were burned to ashes by the flames and smashed by rocks. He didn't save anyone. He just looked on coldly. The 3 Yaman priests hadn't arrived yet. If these self-cultivators fought back, they would at least have a fighting chance. This was because Yaman only had a few thousand people, while they had 100,000. But when Yaman's flames descended, the houses on the ground turned into huge rocks, and sharp metal pieces swept in all directions. Everyone panicked and panicked. They blindly dodged these things and didn't stop to fight back. The sword shadow and dust wind had created more than 100 years of peaceful life for them. They had already forgotten how to deal with Yaman and Yaman's weakness. In their eyes, those Yaman were invincible and insufferably arrogant. More and more self-cultivators screamed wildly. They were smashed to death, killed, and hacked to death before they could even draw their magic treasures. They had already lost mentally. They didn't have any fighting spirit. They were no match for Yaman. Muyu walked past these pitiful creatures. Rocks flew, flames splashed, and sharp lights whistled. But nothing could stop him from moving forward. The branches and vines jumped out from under his feet. They were like giant dragons rolling freely on the ground. They floated up and down and swam around him, clearing away all obstacles. The self-cultivators hiding in the corners who hadn't been killed by Yuman and were trembling in fear were instantly entangled by countless trees and turned into trance. The Yuman who didn't know what was good for them wanted to pounce on Muyu, but they were all pierced and torn apart by the impenetrable branches. Muyu walked forward expressionlessly. At the end of the street, Luo Shang stood there, as if he had been standing there for a long time. The flames on Luo Shang's body had already turned black. These flames were filled with a murderous aura, as if they could burn everything in the world. Even souls would be burned to ashes. The place where the fire was burning had yet to be extinguished. Instead, it was as if it had a life of its own, desperately searching for cultivators to use as fuel to strengthen itself. "Do you regret it?" Luo Shang asked indifferently. All the spirit-severing stage cultivators and the self-cultivators who wanted to escape were burned to ashes by Luo Shang's flames. This was an Azura killing field, where the ugly people were trapped. No one could escape. When they chose to give up on resisting Yuman, they were already dead, Muyu said calmly. Thinking of the old city lord and Xian Zhengtang's family, Muyu could not forgive these people. He had given these people a chance. As long as these people retained their courage and dignity as human beings, they would leave this city just like the other 23 people and leave this murderous field. However, this group of people did not. They made their own choice and chose to be cowardly. The moment they made their choice, they were burying themselves with their own hands. If Muyu saved these selfish self-cultivators, then who would save the hot-blooded old city lord and the righteous Xian Jingtang's family? On what basis could they ask others to die for them with a clear conscience, while they themselves had to survive? What was the point of these cowards surviving? If they survived, would these selfish self-cultivators find other people to die in their place when they were attacked by the young devils again? Even if it's them? Luo Shang's gaze fell on the old man and the young girl in the ruins. It was an old man who was panicking. He tightly hugged his 2-year-old granddaughter, using his own body to protect her. He wanted to use his own body to block the incoming danger. They were only mortals. When a Yaman attacked, they could only place their hopes on Master Immortal. Unfortunately, Master Immortal was even more cowardly than them. Muyu looked at the old man and the young girl indifferently. He saw their desperate and helpless expressions, and his gaze was very calm. An Earth Yaman discovered them. It roared and waved its arms. Immediately, gravel smashed towards the old man and the young girl. The old man closed his eyes in despair and hugged his granddaughter tightly, welcoming death. However, the gravel did not fall. The branches formed a barrier and shattered all the gravel. The slender branches climbed onto the Yuman's body, and the roots extended to the Yuman's body. The Earth Yuman roared and screamed in pain. Its body cracked like gravel and was directly broken by the roots. Muyu looked at the old man and the young man indifferently. There were countless mortals in the city. They couldn't survive this catastrophe. Compared to the self-cultivators, they didn't have the ability to resist. They weren't like the self-cultivators. The self-cultivators at least had the strength to fight, but they didn't. Little Shuai jumped to Muyu's side and reached out to hold Muyu's hand. Muyu's hand was very cold, like a 10,000-year-old ice. However, little Shuai's hand was very warm, like a stove in winter that could melt ice. Little Shuai hesitated for a moment and said, "Muyu, give me the innate array base." Muyu indifferently handed the innate array base with the teleportation array inscribed on it to little Shuai. Little Shuai took the innate array base. His clear eyes turned and said, "And the divine soul array." Muyu calmly waved his hand and also inscribed the divine soul array on the innate array base. Little Shuai's body transformed into a white shadow and disappeared on the spot. He arrived beside the old man and the young girl. The divine soul array and the teleportation array were used on the old man and the young girl at the same time. The two of them had already disappeared. Little Shuai once again transformed into a swift shadow and shuttled through the ruins. Muyu did not stop little Shuai, nor did he continue forward. The tree branches tossed and turned on the ground of Eastern Sand City. They broke through the ground and disappeared into the ground, reaping the lives of self-cultivators and shielding countless mortals from the rubble and flames. Luo Shang looked at Mu Yu and did not say another word. The black flames wreaked havoc in eastern Sand City, igniting the bodies of self-cultivators and Yu Meng one after another. Even Hui Yu Meng was burned to ashes by the black flames. However, when these flames encountered mortals, they would surround them and burn all the sharp blades and rubble that were thrown at them. Even if you don't do anything today, when Priest Yu Meng uses the 5 elements of destruction, the people of Eastern Sand City will not be able to escape death, Luo Shang said indifferently. He looked at the self-cultivators who had died at Yu Meng's hands without even furrowing his brows. Luo Shang had long since grown tired of the ugliness of human nature. He did not want to help these self-cultivators anymore. However, he still chose to help these powerless mortals. I know, Mu Yu replied simply. Luo Shang raised his head and looked toward the east. There, 3 extremely powerful auras were gradually approaching Eastern Sand City. It was as if they had already sensed that Eastern Sand City's defensive spell formation had been broken. They were hurrying here at top speed in an attempt to seize this power of slaughter. Luo Shang withdrew his gaze and said, "After saving Master, I won't regret it no matter how Master wants to punish me. Even if Master wants to kill me, I won't resist. My life was given to me by him, and he can take it back at any time. However, I want to walk my own path." A ripple appeared in Mu Yu's heart. The aura of slaughter was becoming stronger and stronger. Mu Ling seemed to have become extremely strange after absorbing so much soul power. However, Mu Yu did not have the heart to pay attention to where this strange feeling came from. The aura of slaughter around Luo Shang's body intensified. Black flames surged from his body, and a terrifying aura of slaughter surged from his body again. In an instant, it filled the entire Eastern Sand City. All of the self-cultivators who had not managed to escape in time, including Hui Yu Meng, Jin Yu Meng, and Tu Yu Meng, were all set ablaze by the flames of slaughter. In the blink of an eye, the entire Eastern Sand City was reduced to a sea of flames. There was not a single person left alive. Mu Ling surrounded the entire Eastern Sand City, and not a single trace of soul power was allowed to escape. More than 100,000 people, as well as the nearly 10,000 Yu Meng who had rushed over, were all buried in Eastern Sand City. Let's go. Once Priest Yu Meng arrives, the 2 of us won't be a match for them. Their slaughter energy is far stronger than ours, and they are already at the tribulation stage. They are more familiar with the control of slaughter energy than we are, Luo Shang said. The 3 Priest Yu Meng were relatively powerful. They were more familiar with the use of slaughter energy than Mu Yu and Luo Shang. Not to mention that there were 3 of them. If they really fought, Mu Yu and Luo Shang would not be able to win. All right, Mu Yu nodded indifferently. Xiao Shuai's figure was swept back by Mu Yu's tree branch. Along with him, countless terrified mortals were swept back. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. We don't know anything. We can't do anything. When the mortals saw the murderous aura of Mu Yu and Luo Shang, they huddled together in fear. You can make your choice, Luo Shang said coldly. Just like the little boy, Qing Fan, and his family, they could make their choice. The black flames on Luo Shang's body were like a demon god, and all the mortals were scared speechless. No one dared to make a sound. But you're lucky. There's someone who doesn't want to kill you all. Xiao Shuai also had a look of disdain on his face. The divine sense formation in his hand flashed, and all the mortals were enveloped in it. Their memories were wiped, and they were teleported away. The black flames of Eastern Sand City were still burning. Green branches and vines could be seen everywhere, and they resonated with the black flames. However, at a certain moment, all of the black flames, branches, and vines disappeared. It was as if they had never existed in the first place. All that remained of Eastern Sand City was ruins. Not a single intact house, not a single intact stone slab, and not a single intact corpse could be found. Night fell, and thick smoke rose from the ruins, blending into the dusk. Chapter 838. The teleportation array that Luo Shang had set up was located on a short mountain 250 kilometers north of Eastern Sand City. It was a hidden volcanic cave, and the teleportation array was located on a huge rock in the middle of the volcano. Below was boiling lava. The 23 people and the 134 mortals that Little Commander had saved in time were all curled up in a corner. They were too close to the magma, and the hot air made it difficult for them to breathe. If the blue-robed, middle-aged man had not used his spiritual energy to envelop all the mortals, many of them would have suffocated. The blue-robed, middle-aged man looked at the volcano's crater. The volcano's crater was covered in lava, and there was even a layer of 5 elements array above it. There was no way out. The other cultivators were also looking around in confusion. They had thought that they were supposed to be facing the Yumon, but they did not know why they were suddenly in this strange cave. The teleportation array flashed again, and Mu Yu and Luo Shang appeared in the cave. Little Shuai held Mu Yu's hand like an obedient little brother. "You two are back? Where's the Yumon? And where are we now? Where are the others?" The blue-robed, middle-aged man asked with a serious expression. He had already asked the mortals who had been teleported here, but none of them could remember what had just happened. It was as if they had suddenly lost their memories. Mu Yu scanned his surroundings. The light from the lava shone on everyone's faces. No one was happy to have survived. Instead, they were puzzled and worried. They were worried that they had been teleported to the Yumon's lair. "We should get out." Mu Yu looked at the crater above him. Luo Shang had already leaped up. His sword flashed and shattered the 5 elements array above him, revealing a starry sky. Mu Yu had already swept everyone up. One by one, he led the mortals out of the crater. The remaining cultivators followed closely behind. The short mountain was surrounded by even taller peaks, covering the short mountain. Even if someone were to fly by, it would be difficult for them to discover this place. Mu Yu had already retracted his murderous aura. After accepting the murderous aura, he could control it freely. However, the murderous aura in his heart could not be dissipated. The murderous aura seemed to have covered his entire body. His whole body was emitting a cold aura that repelled people thousands of miles away. He brought this group of mortals to a relatively open area halfway up the mountain. The temperature in the mountains was very low, and these mortals were shivering from the cold. It was completely different from when they were in the volcano. The cultivators originally wanted to ask about the situation in Eastern Sand City, but when they saw the looks on Mu Yu and Luo Shang's faces, they tactfully didn't pursue the matter. Little Shuai had already obtained a lot of pill firestones for Mu Yu. He had also found a lot of firewood for these mortals to make a fire to keep them warm. "Big brother, thank you," Qing Fan, who was only 2 years old, said seriously. Little Shuai patted Qing Fan, who was a head shorter than him. He smiled and said, "No need to thank me. Little Qing Fan is very brave." Qing Fan blinked her big eyes and asked, "Big brother, was that Yumon chased away?" Little Shuai looked at Mu Yu and Luo Shang. He scratched his head and said, "Yumon was chased away by us." Mu Yu and Luo Shang were both silent. "Big brother, you guys are so strong," Qing Fan said excitedly with a look of reverence. Little Shuai patted Qing Fan's shoulder and didn't say anything. He walked to Mu Yu's side and sat down. However, Qing Fan seemed to have some questions. She ran over to Mu Yu and Luo Shang. She didn't care at all about the faint cold aura emitted by Mu Yu and Luo Shang. Instead, she asked, "Big brother, does that mean we can go home tomorrow?" The remaining 20 self-cultivators all looked at Mu Yu and Luo Shang, as well as the remaining 100 or so mortals. They all wanted to know the answer to this question. If Yumon had been chased away, then where did the rest of the people from Eastern Sand City go? Little Shuai said hesitantly, "Eastern Sand City no longer exists." Qing Fan's face paled. She gritted her teeth and asked, "Was our home destroyed by Yumon?" Little Shuai didn't know how to answer this question. There was a long silence. Then where did the rest of the people go? Qing Fan asked again. Mu Yu looked up at Qing Fan and said calmly, "Dead." Everyone was stunned. Eastern Sand City had more than 100,000 people. They were all dead? Dead? Big brother, they're all dead? Were they all killed by Yumon? Qing Fan asked anxiously. He was only 2 years old. Children's words carried no harm. He didn't want to anger Mu Yu and Luo Shang, so he asked the question that was on everyone's mind. They died at the hands of demons, Mu Yu said calmly. Mu Yu and Luo Shang were demons who had slaughtered all the self-cultivators in the city. The self-cultivators who had killed the old city lord and Xian Zhongtang's family and wanted to hand Mu Yu over to Yuman were also demons. These people had died at the hands of Mu Yu and Luo Shang, but they had also died at their own hands. They didn't have to die. As long as they had some guts and dignity, Mu Yu would have gone to save them. However, out of the 100,000 people, only 23 had not forgotten their guts and dignity as humans. Mu Yu was helpless against these people. Qing Fan clenched her little fists and said resolutely, "Big brother, when I grow up, I want to be like you and destroy Yuman. I want to destroy all the demons." Mu Yu and Luo Shang both looked at Qing Fan. Their eyes were calm, and they didn't say anything. Little Shuai's mouth moved. He wanted to tell Qing Fan what demon meant, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Qing Fan looked at the 5 neatly arranged coffins behind Mu Yu and asked curiously, "Big brother, what are these 5 boxes for?" 5 loyal people are sleeping in them, Mu Yu said softly. Qing Fan scratched her head in confusion and asked, "Big brother, are you saying that the City Lord Grandpa is sleeping in here?" "Yes." "Then when will the City Lord Grandpa wake up?" "When demons lose themselves, they might wake up, or they might never wake up." "Why would demons lose themselves?" "If that demon loses himself, will he be killed by us?" Mu Yu looked at Qing Fan's clear and flawless eyes. For some reason, he didn't feel a trace of irritation when he looked at Qing Fan's pure eyes. "I don't know, but if you want to kill demons, you must know if you're a demon or not," Mu Yu said calmly. "I will be a good person like Big Brother." "I will not be a demon," Qing Fan said seriously. "We are not necessarily good people. Cultivators are not necessarily good people. Do you understand?" Mu Yu's voice had a trace of fluctuation. Qing Fan nodded as if she didn't fully understand. Then, she seemed to think of something. She took out a pair of thumb-sized porcelain figurines and handed them to Mu Yu and Luo Shang, one in each hand. "Big brother, these are the porcelain figurines of a true god. They could bring me good luck. Big brother, you saved us and killed Yuman. You are our heroes. These 2 porcelain figurines are for Big brother. They will bring you good luck in the future." Luo Shang didn't take them. Instead, he said, "I am not a hero." Mu Yu didn't take them either. He was afraid of the word hero because he thought of Mu Hao, who was studying arrays in the array faction. Back then, Mu Hao kept saying that his brother was a hero of a human race. But now the hero in Mu Hao's heart had become the demon that slaughtered Dongsha City. He couldn't be a hero anymore. "Big brother, in my heart, is a hero," Qing Fan said innocently. Mu Yu hesitated for a moment before reaching out to take the porcelain figurine. His fingers touched Qing Fan's hand, and he suddenly pulled them back. His body was cold like a block of ice. Qing Fan's hand was very warm as Little Handsome's. However, Little Handsome wouldn't be frostbitten. He was worried that Qing Fan would be frostbitten by him. "Big brother, why are your hands so cold? Are you sick?" Qing Fan asked worriedly. Mu Yu took a deep breath. The coldness in his body gradually dissipated. His body temperature gradually rose. "Thank you." Mu Yu took Qing Fan's porcelain figurine. It looked like a true god. The craftsman who made the figurine was very skilled. It looked exactly like the true god on the city gate. "What about me? You didn't give me anything?" Little Handsome blinked. "I still have them. My father bought me 9. My father said that the true god used to have 9 clones and could control 9 heavenly swords. It was very powerful. Hence, he bought me 9. Qing Fan took out another one and handed it to Little Handsome. "Big brother, do you really not want it?" Qing Fan asked Luo Shang. Luo Shang was silent for a moment before reaching out to take the porcelain figurine. "That's great. With the protection of the true god, we will have good luck in the future," Qing Fan said happily. "The protection of the true god?" Mu Yu and Luo Shang looked at the porcelain figurine in their hands. A strange feeling emerged in their hearts. Their master was the true god that Qing Fan mentioned. However, where was the true god now? That's right. Big brother, you saved us. I don't even know your names. Are you immortal masters from a very powerful sect? Qing Fan asked again. The 20 cultivators who were silent at the side suddenly became alert. This was also something that they wanted to know. These two people looked so young. However, to be able to fight against Yumon and teleport them out. Which sect were they from? Mu Yu and Luo Shang looked at each other, but did not speak. However, Little Handsome interrupted loudly. The three of us do not belong to any sect. We roam the world and treat the world as our home. We uphold justice and punish evil. My name is Big Mao. He is second Mao. And he is third Mao. Big brother Big Mao, you are the youngest. Why are you called Big Mao? Let me tell you, age is not a problem. I am their big senior brother. Although I am the youngest, I am actually the most powerful. Little Handsome began to talk nonstop to Qing Fan about all sorts of things. Qing Fan listened very seriously. Her face was filled with amazement. Her expression was colorful. Chapter 839. The morning sun shone halfway up the mountain. Everyone got up tiredly. Qing Fan and Little Shuai hugged each other and slept soundly. Mu Yu and Luo Shang did not rest. The 20 cultivators did not sleep either. The other 100+ mortals also slept very lightly. We should leave, Luo Shang said. Mu Yu nodded. He stood up and woke Little Shuai up. Are we leaving? Little Shuai rubbed his eyes and yawned loudly. He was always so carefree. Even if so many things happened yesterday, it did not affect his sleep quality. Big brother, are you guys leaving? Qing Fan also sat up and asked sleepily. Yes. Big brother to Mao is going to take revenge on the Yu Meng devil clan. You should follow your parents and grow up quickly. In the future, I will also take you to fight the Yu Meng devil clan, okay? Little Shuai stretched. But big brother to Mao, didn't you say last night that you will teach me to become a powerful immortal master? You are leaving without teaching me. Qing Fan said anxiously. Did I say that? Little Shuai scratched the back of his head. He had talked too much last night and could not remember what he said. Big brother to Mao, you didn't keep your words. A hero cannot be like this. Qing Fan held Little Shuai's hand and refused to let go. Little Shuai stuck out his tongue and made a face. Mu Yu glanced at Little Shuai and walked over. He patted Qing Fan's head. Qing Fan, your talent is not bad. You could become a cultivator. However, we're going to do some very dangerous things and cannot bring you along. So, you should follow your parents first. When there is a chance, I will teach you. But we don't have a home now. Big brother to Mao said that Eastern Sand City has been destroyed. We have no home to return to. Qing Fan said with a little grievance. Mu Yu fell silent. He had not considered this point. But at this moment, the blue-robed middle-aged man walked over and said gently to Qing Fan, Little guy, you can cultivate with me. Mu Yu looked at the blue-robed middle-aged man. Yesterday, the blue-robed middle-aged man was the first to stand up. Therefore, Mu Yu had a very deep impression of him. Sorry to trouble you. Mu Yu nodded towards the blue-robed middle-aged man. The middle-aged man in blue said with a smile, It's no trouble. Qing Fan dared to stand out in front of so many Zayashinists yesterday. Just this courage alone is enough to make him much better than most Zayashinists. As long as he's properly trained, he'll definitely become a great talent in the future. May I know your name, fellow Taoist? Mu Yu sized up the blue-robed middle-aged man. He felt that the man in front of him looked a little familiar, but then he felt that he was overthinking it. It should be because this man was the first one to stand up yesterday that made him feel this way. The blue-robed middle-aged man smiled and said, I was presumptuous and forgot to introduce myself. I am Tan Xingchuan, a loose cultivator. Tan Xingchuan was in the out-of-body stage. It was more than enough for him to teach Qing Fan. Mu Yu gave the few remaining spirit stones and jade pendants to Tan Xingchuan. There were about 10 million spirit stones. Then he looked at the cowering mortals and said, "Fellow Taoist Tan, help me settle them down. Let them find a city to live in. You can decide how many spirit stones to give them. Use the rest on Qing Fan. He's worth it." Tan Qingchuan looked at the spirit stones and jade pendants. He was surprised. "This is a large sum. You trust me so much? At least you stood up yesterday," Mu Yu said indifferently. To be the first to stand up at such a critical moment, he must have had a lot of courage. Mu Yu trusted this kind of person. Tan Qingchuan nodded. "I understand." When he saw the 10 million spirit stones, he didn't show any superfluous expression. When he faced Mu Yu, he also didn't show too much restraint. This kind of person seemed to be magnanimous, which made people have a good impression of him. Xiao Shui patted Qing Fan on the shoulder and said, "All right, since I've already found you a master, you have to cultivate well, okay? Once you've mastered your cultivation, I'll take you to fight Yumeng, okay?" "Okay, big brother to Mao." Qing Fan nodded. Mu Yu hesitated for a moment before saying, "Qing Fan, you have to remember, if you want to kill demons, you can't let yourself become one." "I know. I will learn from big brother." Qing Fan nodded solemnly. Mu Yu shook his head. "Don't learn from me. Learn from your master. Because I'm a demon," Mu Yu said in his mind. He picked up the 5 coffins beside him and soared into the sky, disappearing into the horizon. Luo Shang followed closely behind. "Goodbye, Qing Fan." Xiao Shui waved his hand with a smile. He then leaped into the air and flew in the direction that Mu Yu had disappeared in. "Uncle, why didn't Big Brother finish his sentence?" Qing Fan asked in confusion. Tan Qingchuan looked at Mu Yu's disappearing figure. His eyes suddenly became deep as a strange blue light flashed across his body. Everyone has their own secrets. If he doesn't want to talk about them, then there's no need for us to investigate. Also, from now on, you have to call me Master. "Okay, Uncle. Who's more powerful, Uncle or Big Brother?" "Call me Master." "Uncle Master, who's more powerful, you or Big Brother?" "No matter who's more powerful, they can't beat the human heart. The human heart is the most powerful thing." "What does that mean?" "You'll understand in the future." "Uncle Master, why didn't you kill Yuman yesterday?" "Get rid of the uncle." "Why didn't you kill Yuman yesterday, Master?" "Because the person that Dongsha City wanted to kill yesterday wasn't Yuman. Instead, it was a demon." "What's the difference?" "You'll understand in the future." "What's your most powerful spell, Master?" "My spell can summon thunder and lightning." "Can thunder and lightning kill Yuman?" "Yes." "Then I must learn it." The news of Dongsha City being destroyed by Yuman once again shook the entire cultivation world. Every self-cultivator was shocked beyond belief. In the past, Yuman had only destroyed 3 cities. However, at that time, the 3 cities were just small cities with few self-cultivators, weak cultivators, and a small population. Therefore, they didn't attract much attention. However, Dongsha City was different. Dongsha City was one of the most important cities in the cultivation world. At that time, many people in Dongsha City were disciples of large sections, especially when the 8 sects body integration stage elders were in charge. It should have been a foolproof plan. However, who would have thought that it would be completely destroyed this time? Not a single self-cultivator survived. The destruction of Dongsha City caused many self-cultivators to panic. If Yuman had the ability to destroy such a powerful city like Dongsha City, then the other cities wouldn't be able to withstand Yuman's attack. Fear and shadows began to spread in the hearts of all the self-cultivators. It turned out that Yuman had unknowingly become so powerful. This was something that none of them had expected. Many self-cultivators began to panic. Every self-cultivator began to feel insecure. They were afraid that their city would suddenly be attacked by Yuman and become the next Dongsha City. After Sword Shadow and Dust Wind had helped them stop Yuman, the cultivation world of the 3 continents passed peacefully for 100 years. Now that Yuman had made a comeback, the self-cultivators of the 3 continents seemed to have forgotten how to fight against Yuman. They had even lost the will to fight. They were afraid. Dongsha City was in ruins. Yaman had already retreated into the mountains near Dongsha City. At this time, all that was left of Dongsha City was scorched earth. Not a single building was intact, and not a single living thing was left alive. The corpses of the self-cultivators had already been reduced to ashes. Not a single complete corpse could be found. More than 100,000 people had all disappeared in an instant. Only black smoke was still rising from the ruins, emitting the stench of blood. Two black-clothed figures abruptly appeared in an inconspicuous ruin. Their attire was very strange. They were covered from head to toe with a black hood. Not a single bit of skin was exposed, making them look very mysterious. What's going on? Why is there no soul force coming out after the deaths of 100,000 people? Could it be that the three high priests of the Yumeng demon clan are also able to collect soul power when they are collecting slaughter aura? The speaker was a woman, and her voice was like the tinkling of spring water, pleasing to the ear. She walked on the broken path and kicked away a boulder, revealing half of a Yaman's body. She crouched down and placed her hand on the Yaman's body. Even the soul force of Yaman's death didn't come out. The other mysterious man who spoke floated above the ruins like a ghost for a while before landing on a huge boulder filled with soot. This boulder was more than 100 meters tall and pierced through the original location of Beastmaster Camp. Only Yu Meng could move such a large boulder. No, there's something strange about this. The soul force of the other three cities didn't disappear when they were destroyed. Jin Xiun, you and I will split up and search the area to see if there's anything wrong. The two figures shuttled through the eastern sand city like ghosts. An hour later, the two figures reunited in the air. The mysterious woman called Jin Xiun landed on the crumbling city gate. Not a single soul force came out after the deaths of 100,000 people. Who did it? She squatted down and carefully searched the ruins. She gently waved her hand, and a white light flew out from her sleeve. It dispersed the dust and swept up a broken sword tip. Gu Chaofeng, come take a look. This is the sword tip of the heavenly sword of Sword Shadow, Dustwind sculpture. The mysterious man called Gu Chaofeng was surprised. It was destroyed by the murderous aura. The mysterious woman waved her hand again. A holy white light exuded a chilling murderous intent. This murderous intent doesn't belong to the three priests. Could it be? Gu Chaofeng seemed to have thought of something. From what we've discovered, we can deduce that the defense array of Eastern Sand City was not broken by Priest Yu Meng from the outside. Instead, it was caused by someone destroying the statue of Jianing and Chun Feng inside the city, Jin Xian said. Gu Chaofeng pondered for a moment and said, let's see if there are any survivors in the city. The holy white light spread out from the woman's body again. It turned into countless strands of white dust that floated around the city. She shook her head. There are no survivors in the city. People come and go, but we can't be sure of the exact number. I don't know who is in the city either. Gu Chaofeng stood on the city gate and looked at the desolation before him. He didn't say anything. He looked at the sky and said, more cultivators from other cities are coming. I see. Chapter 840. The wind blew at the three figures, causing their clothes to flutter. Where are we going? Luo Shang asked. I want to return to my father's valley, Mu Yu said. He wanted to place the bodies of the old city lord and the others in the valley, because that was where Mu Yu felt most at ease. As for the future, he would talk about it in the future. Luo Shang didn't ask any more questions as he followed Mu Yu. Little Handsome transformed back into the little beast and fell asleep in Mu Yu's arms. He even turned around and scratched Mu Yu's clothes before touching his mouth. The 5 coffins floated behind them, looking very strange. However, the two didn't find it abrupt. They were very fast, but Eastern Sand City was very far from Withered Tree Valley. It would take at least a day. On this day, Mu Yu and Luo Shang didn't speak much. When Little Handsome woke up, he sat on Mu Yu's shoulder and ate. The atmosphere was a little depressing. The next morning, Mu Yu landed above the valley, but just as he landed, he suddenly frowned. What's wrong? Luo Shang asked. There's someone in the valley. Muyu's figure had already flashed into the valley. This valley was Deadwood Daddy's home. Muyu didn't allow anyone to tarnish it. If anyone was blind enough to destroy everything here, he wouldn't show mercy. The celestial demon tree was still there. It was covered with fake celestial demon fruits that could bite people. These celestial demon fruits looked fruity, but if anyone wanted to pick them, they would be bitten down by the celestial demon fruits. Little Handsome was a warning. An exquisite wooden bridge spanned the small river in the valley. The river water flowed clear and splashed from time to time. Some purple flowers were planted on the shore. They were common herbs used in alchemy. There were also some edible vegetables and fruits. This place seemed to have been built into a place that could be lived in. Muyu's expression changed, but a sword was pressed against Muyu's neck. "This is private property." A cold voice sounded. "This is also my place." Muyu turned around and saw a beautiful woman who was as cold as ice. Her temperament was even colder than his. She was like an iceberg that would not melt for 1,000 years, making people stay away from her. Long Bingxue was the branch master of the freezing peak of the Danding School. "It's you." Long Bingxue took back his sword and glanced at Luo Shang, who remained silent. His face was expressionless. "You knew we were here?" Long Bingxue walked towards the back of the celestial demon tree. There was a medicinal garden filled with all kinds of precious pills. Long Bingxue continued to take care of her medicinal garden. "Now I know." Muyu seemed to have sensed something. He looked at the celestial demon tree. The celestial demon tree was very big. Inside the trunk was a tree house. At this moment, a person was lying on a bed in the tree house. He knew who this person was. Muyu silently walked towards the celestial demon tree. The celestial demon tree gently swayed, but didn't do anything. He pushed open the door of the tree house. The room was very bright. There was a huge, luminous pearl on the ceiling that emitted a soft light. There was a row of bookshelves in the corner. There were all kinds of books on medicinal herbs. There were bottles and jars on the table. He didn't know what they contained. There was also a wooden bed next to it. Deadwood Daddy was lying on the bed. His expression was peaceful, as if he was just sleeping. All kinds of strange emotions suddenly surged in his heart. Muyu's cold temperament for the past few days was completely destroyed. It was as if his disguise had been torn off. Countless memories flooded his mind. He couldn't help but tremble. "I'm sorry, Dad." Muyu's originally cold heart felt as if someone had ruthlessly clawed at it. An indescribable pain arose spontaneously. It was as if everything had returned to many years ago. At that time, Deadwood Daddy had captured him from floating Fairy Island and locked him in this valley. He had forced him to learn all kinds of medicinal knowledge and formations. At that time, Muyu had never liked the feeling of being locked up. He had always spoken rudely. Deadwood Daddy, who was originally stuttering, was so angry that he scolded him very fluently. It was really a miracle that the irascible old man could tolerate Muyu's rudeness and didn't slap Muyu to death. Now, things were the same, but people were different. Everything could never go back. "I've been working hard. Really, I've been working hard. I've been working hard to make up for those regrets." Tears seemed to want to burst out his eyes. All kinds of feelings of regret, resentment, and sadness poured into his heart. He was like a helpless child who was pouring out the pain of these years to his father. In front of Deadwood's father, Muyu was no longer the demon who killed people like scything flax. He was just a child who was burdened with too much pressure. So many things pressed down on him that he almost couldn't breathe. But no matter what, Muyu didn't want to give up. This was because Muyu had said that he would definitely make his father open his eyes. Muyu held Deadwood's hand tightly. Xiao Shui had placed ice crystals on Deadwood's body. It was bone-chilling cold, just like Muyu the day before yesterday. However, Muyu's heart was slowly recovering. The person in front of him made his heart feel warm. No one else could understand what Muyu wanted to do. He could only walk this path alone. He had always been working hard to do what he thought was right. He believed that he had a clear conscience. In order to make his father wake up, in order to save his master from the threefold palace, he had always persevered. "But even you are against me doing this. You don't want me to resurrect you." Muyu's expression was gloomy. He returned to the past and the reincarnation seal and saw the young Deadwood Daddy. He told the truth to Deadwood Daddy, hoping that Deadwood Daddy could help him. However, the young Deadwood Daddy rejected Muyu's request. At that time, even if he knew that he would die, he didn't want Muyu to resurrect him. But the cultivation world is becoming more and more unsightly. I only want to let the people who should live better lives. I won't listen to you, just like how I didn't listen to you in the past. Tears were about to fall, but Muyu smiled and the tears scattered again. He didn't like to cry because he felt that one had to learn to be strong in life. All tears were pretentious pretense. Deadwood Daddy closed his eyes slightly, as if he would wake up at any moment. Then, he cursed at Muyu. Muyu hadn't heard Deadwood Daddy's disdainful scolding for a long time. He was used to those scoldings and was even used to Deadwood Daddy, who had lost his cultivation, slapping the back of his head at the slightest provocation. It didn't hurt or itch. However, there were very few people who scolded him so unscrupulously in recent years. I don't want to be the savior of the cultivation world, nor do I want to be the hero of the human race. I just want to be myself and fulfill the responsibility of a son and disciple. Muyu looked at Deadwood's father's face and thought about how 100,000 self-cultivators were killed in front of him, and he was the one who started it all. He was in a terrible mood. He would never do something like this in the past. Even Deadwood's father would not do something like this. However, if he could turn back time, he would still do it, because he couldn't forgive those people. 2 days. Muyu stayed in the celestial demon tree for 2 days. He sat on the ground with his back leaning against Deadwood Daddy's bed. He was in a daze, as if he had forgotten the passage of time and returned to his original self. Carefree, he quarreled with Lan Ling at Luochen Mountain, caused trouble everywhere with empty Meow Meow, complained with everyone about how bad and Shu's dishes were, and listened to his master tell all kinds of stories at Luochen Cliff at night. Muyu also wanted to go back to the time when he first met Deadwood's father. He always talked without thinking and made his father angry. Then he was scolded and scolded by his father in all kinds of ways. However, he was very thick-skinned because being scolded would never hurt him. However, he could no longer go back. Xiao Shuai opened the door with a leg stuffed in his mouth and said, "Muyu, it's been 2 days. Do you want to eat something? That ice, cold elder's cooking skills are not bad." I really couldn't tell. Muyu stood up and glanced at Deadwood Daddy. Then, he silently walked out and closed the door. Luo Shang was sitting cross-legged at the foot of the mountain in the distance. In the past 2 days, he didn't disturb Muyu, nor did he talk to Lung Bingxue. The 5 coffins were placed beside him. Lung Bingxue stood on the bridge and silently looked at Muyu. Muyu walked over and said softly, "Sorry, no need. Why are you here?" Muyu asked. "Because if I was in the Pill Cauldron sect, I would kill that person." Lung Bingxue didn't hide anything. Muyu was silent for a long time. He knew who Lung Bingxue was referring to. The culprit, Shi Deng Tian, who provided the slave pill to Tian Bue. "I would kill him," Muyu said indifferently. His tone was very calm, as if killing a person was a simple matter. For the Kurinim, killing people was indeed very simple. "They won't let you kill him. He's a branch master," Lung Bingxue said. "I know, but I would still kill him." Muyu never looked at status when killing people. Status wouldn't let people who deserve to die live. Lung Bingxue didn't speak again. "Also, I will definitely resurrect Dad," Muyu said. "I don't know what you're going to do, but he believes in you, so I believe in you," Lung Bingxue said. The two of them didn't have much interaction, and they didn't even speak much. It was only because of Deadwood Daddy that Muyu treated Lung Bingxue as one of his own. There was a long silence. Only the wind rustled the celestial demon tree and the river flowed under the bridge. "I want to borrow a piece of land here," Muyu said. "This is what he left for you," Lung Bingxue said. "Thank you." Muyu turned around and walked towards Luo Shang. Luo Shang opened his eyes and looked at Muyu calmly. "Wait for me a little longer." With a wave of her hand, Muyu lifted the 5 coffins and slowly walked along the upper reaches of the valley. The riverbanks here had been reclaimed by Lung Bingxue and were filled with all kinds of herbs, vegetables, and fruits. It was completely different from the desolate valley that was once filled with poisonous fog. Muyu stopped in the middle of the river and looked up at the mountain wall. There was a cave not far from the ground. When they first entered the valley, Deadwood Daddy had set up a mirror array here to trap them. At night, all kinds of ferocious beasts would crawl out of the river. Muyu and Old Tan had taken refuge in this cave. He leaped up and landed in the cave. A sword beam swept out and expanded the entire cave. Then, he slowly placed the 5 coffins in the cave. The coffins contained extremely powerful vitality. Muyu had engraved an array formation on them, enough to ensure that the corpses of the 5 people would not rot. I said that I would let those who deserve to live live. Muyu silently looked at the 5 coffins. The entire Eastern Sand City had been buried with the old city lord and Xianjingtang's family. The lives of the 5 of them were more important than everyone in the city. He turned around. The array formation had already covered the entire cave. The emerald green trees also covered the entrance. No one could enter except for him. Luo Shang was not far from the riverbank, watching Muyu fall from the entrance of the cave. "What are you going to do next?" Luo Shang asked indifferently. Muyu looked at the familiar valley and remembered that Deadwood Daddy had been brought here by Tian Buwait. He was then forced to kill Wan Tianming here. The threefold palace took the opportunity to kill Deadwood Daddy. Until now, he had not been able to come back to life. Every time Muyu thought of the people from Stargate, his heart would burn with anger. Tian Ziming, who had seized power in Eastern Sand City and incited everyone to compromise with Yuman and killed the old city lord in Xianjingting, was also from Stargate. "I'm going to collect my debt." Muyu's voice was filled with killing intent. He had been so weak in the past that he could not fight against a colossus like Stargate. But now, he had the power to kill. With this power, he could fight against a tribulation passing stage cultivator. "Where are you going to collect your debt?" "Stargate." The people from Stargate had the shadow of the threefold palace behind them. If Muyu wanted to deal with the threefold palace, he had to get rid of their claws and teeth first. Luo Shang stared at Muyu for a long time before saying, "Any one of the 8 gates has existed for thousands of years. They have a rich heritage. They won't be destroyed so easily by you." The threefold continent was ruled by the 8 gates. The Star Gate was one of them. Any small sect would want to curry favor with the 8 gates. Small sects took pride in being acquainted with the elders and disciples of the 8 gates. Once they had a connection with the 8 gates, they would have more confidence to walk in the cultivation world. No one dared to challenge the authority of the 8 gates because there were countless body integration stage cultivators in the 8 gates. They were like untouchable giants that could not be shaken. It's time for the 7 mountains of Stargate to fall. Muyu slowly walked to the riverside. His heart was like flowing water, unable to calm down. The water plants under his feet grew rapidly with his mood. "You've been to the Stargate?" "Yes," Muyu said indifferently. When he was studying formations at the Array faction, he once went to the Stargate. The Stargate was made up of 7 mountains that floated in the air using a powerful formation. This formation was personally set up by the Array Heavenly Tao. Muyu received all of the Array Heavenly Tao's inheritance, so he naturally knew the weakness of the Stargate formation. As far as I know, each of the 8 gates has at least 3 tribulation passing stage experts. There are no less than 40 or 50 body integration stage cultivators. "How do you deal with the 3 tribulation stage cultivators?" Luo Shang asked. Muyu didn't answer. He could deal with 1 tribulation stage cultivator, but not 3 at the same time. "You and I can each deal with 1, but we can't deal with the 3rd person, especially the leader of the Stargate, Tian Yuan. It's said that he's about to reach the great ascension stage, which is far more powerful than you and me," Luo Shang continued. Muyu looked up at Luo Shang and shook his head. "This has nothing to do with you." Luo Shang didn't look at Muyu. "I have nothing to do." Muyu's mouth moved, but he didn't say anything. "So we have to find a 3rd person," Luo Shang said. "Oh, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.